That was what we were talking about.
We are.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Marshall. I was complaining because I think I have too much space, and Marshall was like, "You should sublet." I was about to reply that would be difficult for me because we have a thing in the UK called council tax, which I think is just property tax, if that's a thing in the US. I think it's just a property tax. It's just like for owning or renting property, you just pay to the local tax collecting authorities, right? But if you're a full-time student, you get a full reduction on that. You don't pay any of it. But if at least one person in the place isn't a full-time student, you have to pay about, like, I think it's like 25% of it. So it wouldn't be plain sailing on the price side, because I'd have to start paying a tax that I don't currently have to pay. Yeah.
I am fairly certain that renters do not pay taxes, at least where I am.
Oh, what? Like property, like any property taxes, you mean?
We don't. Yeah. We pay no tax. We pay no.
I am in a
taxes.
very small tax haven in.
I could be wrong, and who knows? In some sense, it's probably built into the price of the rent. But I'm pretty sure, in terms of who actually pays it, all the burden of the tax for the property does go to the owner of the house, not the renter. So it might be different in some situations though, because I'm just staying in like a what's the word, like a duplex, like it's just two apartments in one house.
Oh,
okay. I'm not like in a big. I don't know what your situation is, but I'm not like in a big apartment building or something like that. It sounds like you have 4 stories, so you're at least in some sort of building. And so it might be different when you go to bigger buildings here. I'm not sure, but because I'm not a super experienced renter. Definitely you pay property taxes if you own a place, though, for sure. But I've never. That sucks that renters there have to pay property tax.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right analogy. It's called council tax.
Council tax. So it's not property tax. It's like it goes to just the local town, like the.
Yeah, they send you a letter telling you where it goes exactly, which is quite nice. But it was funny reading it and being like, I'm not paying any of this. You're not getting any of this money.
You fucking fools! Right back.
£14 to the fire department? No sirree! You get... Not on my watch, you don't!
I've given you no pennies!
Alright, I got chat open on my phone because I only have 2 monitors today. The horror.
Oh, man. What's the other monitor doing?
Did it die on the plug.
What the fuck?
I know! It's gotta be here somewhere, but I could not find it.
Now, did you put all the plugs in the same box or container?
I thought
like
so.
You could have.
Yeah, I thought so. It's not there.
That's too bad.
Maybe I took it out.
You hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. It must be somewhere, because I cleared out the old place recently, and even though I forgot a very expensive bar of soap, I doubt I would have forgotten a plug.
Is there a chance it could have fallen out on the move? Or was it very well secured in wherever it was?
There's a chance. I haven't heard from my friend who drove us, though. So maybe it is in his car somewhere.
He just stole it. He's like, free plug.
Free plug, yeah. I mean, he should have taken my European one, and I could have been, ha! It's not even British. Fuck you.
You can't even use it, you fool. And then he's like, I've actually got a collection of.
Oh, that's fair. Actually, he also lived in Europe for a year, so he probably does. I think Norway has the same plugs as everywhere else. So
I mean, I would imagine the EU is standardized, right?
Norway is technically not in the EU. I think it's in the European Economic Area.
Isn't it in the Schengen?
No, it's not in the Schengen area. No, I think it's.
But it's in the economic.
The European Economic Area, yeah.
Gotcha.
But
I love it.
I don't think it is in Schengen, which is the important distinction. Because that means there are border checks. I think. If it isn't in Schengen. Because we're not in Schengen.
No, yeah.
No.
Of course.
So, there's that.
But yeah, no, that's, well, I hope you find it. I mean, you could probably just buy a cheap. Yeah.
I just literally, I moved, like I was telling you off stream, I was in the kitchen, well, everyone who watched the stream yesterday would know I was in the kitchen yesterday. And I literally moved to this room today, so I just put something together. I didn't have my microphone till like an hour ago. Or my webcam. I was just in here for a little while, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
On my end of things, Lily and I got a cat a few days ago, so we now have a kitten. It's 3 months old. His name is Publius. He's a real troublemaker. He might jump into the stream at any second.
I see.
So get ready.
I don't know if I'm ready.
You won't be. You just see me get mauled and blood like flies onto the camera.
What's a good hotkey for switching between scenes?
Do you have an application key on your keyboard? I always use that because I don't ever have anything to do with it.
No.
It's on my keyboard. It's between the Windows and the right control key. Anyway.
Oh yeah. I did.
Then.
Okay.
I would use that because that shit does nothing for me. I don't know what it does.
Can I set up a hotkey that moves between two scenes? I don't think so, right? I'd have to set up two hotkeys.
I don't know.
It's called Podcast Roll20. Switch to scene.
Also, on a lark, I bought the
On a lark.
Pathfinder 2nd Edition core rulebook. And I've been checking that out.
Have we talked about that before?
I don't know if we have. Not much. We might have mentioned it. But I've just been slowly perusing the rules for it and the classes and stuff.
The application key has a usage in OBS, you liar. You raw liar. Liar.
I didn't know.
Liar. Wait, talk a second.
Hello?
Okay, I'm just making sure your audio is recording. Any other suggestions?
For good hotkeys, the tilde key to the left of the one.
Sure.
Wait, British people have the same keyboard, right, as Americans?
No, it is different.
No? Fuck. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously the money sign is different. Are there other major differences?
Yeah, I think so. I think like the at sign, I think, is on a different key.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Unless I'm thinking of European keyboards. This works kind of partially. Monka. Okay, I need one more hotkey, Marshall. Maybe Shift 1. Does Shift 1 do anything? No. Okay.
Hard to say.
What do you mean hard to say? How dare you?
It was hard to say. Okay, it wasn't easy. That's my favorite. Favorite quote. Always pisses people off. Someone will be like, "What's the weight gonna be?" And I'm like, "Hard to say." And they're like, "Fuck you."
Fuck you. Yeah, I agree with them. Oh god, why is my camera so blurry? I'm gonna fix that. Hold on. There we go. God, the lighting's so bad. How are you doing, Marshall? Except for the cat. Or is the cat the main focus of your life right now?
The cat's a pretty big focus, and just
Do you have is it going to be an indoor cat, or is there an outdoors it can do?
We're keeping it only indoor. We don't want to mess around with the outdoors. Plus, it wouldn't even really be convenient to make it an outdoor cat because we're on the second floor, so it's kind of hard to access the outdoor.
Just make a slide.
Just a slide, a ladder, a series of
Actually,
ropes.
if you have, cat scratchers, if you just have a really long one, it can probably climb. They're very good climbers, yeah. Like a fire pole for cats. That would actually be really cool.
Neighbors would be like, "What the fuck is that? Is that like a weird pole, like for pole dancing?" We're like, "No, that's for a cat." But yeah, have you looked at all at the Pathfinder 2e rulebook?
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit looking at the Pathfinder 2e rulebook.
Oh, I see.
I'm generally not a fan, but not in like a massive way.
Gotcha.
I'm not at the I really like 3.5, and you can feel a lot of 3.5 in there. It's just you can tell it's evolved, and I like what it's done, but it's not for me anymore.
Yeah, I guess I'm the opposite. I'm generally a fan. The only thing that I've discovered so far that like raised my sort of red flag was that attacks of opportunity, and I'm not sure if all monsters get them, but not all classes get attacks of opportunity as a basic action.
Yeah, it's very old deal in D&D.
Which is was that true in 1E?
I don't know. It definitely was in 2. I haven't played a lot of 1. I think we've talked about this before.
No, sorry. I'm speaking.
Oh, Pathfinder 1E?
Pathfinder. Yeah, in first edition of Pathfinder.
I haven't played any
don't
first edition Pathfinder, but I've played 3.5, which is basically the same thing, I think. But I think it isn't. If I remember correctly, I think they took that out for 3.5. But I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while. We played a lot of homebrew shit back then. You don't like that?
I'm looking. Okay, no, I just checked. It was in Pathfinder 1. It's the only thing so far that I've seen that has made me like pause and think whether I like it or not. I don't like it or dislike it. I mean, I can see because basically what they did is they gave it as a feat to, I think it's champions. Also, they changed paladin to champion. I'm not sure why they did that, but it's basically the same thing. They just changed the name. Anyway, they gave it to champions, fighters, and barbarians, and I don't think they gave it to anyone else. And even then, it's as an optional. Like they have to choose to take it. I can't see you, by the way. That's weird.
Really? You should be able to.
Let me turn off my camera and turn it back on. Oh, now I can see you. Okay, that was weird. But yeah, I think it's interesting, but it's one of the few things so far.
Can I put out there that it's pretty much the same in 5e anyway, because a lot of classes won't have a melee weapon in their hands?
Well, that's true, and it would be the same in 2e if they gave it to everyone in that sense, but in the sense that, like, if you wanted to build... I mean, for example, like, in 5e, I built I've actually built 2 wizards that, especially in the early levels, did a lot of, like, hand-to-hand fighting. And so I don't think it's unusual to be in a position where you know, that's useful. But like I said, I'm not necessarily highly critical of the decision. It did give me, like, I don't know. I enjoy attacks of opportunity as a mechanic. So when I saw and it did give me a little bit confusion, because I know that in Pathfinder 1 and 2e, they instead of disengaging, you take a step where you just move 5 feet, and that can negate attacks of opportunity. And steps are still in this. But so that makes me wonder, do all monsters get attacks of opportunity? That's something I need to research, because I don't know. I have no idea. If only some do, because if only some do, then, like, because I've seen some class features that, like, make you better at stepping, but it's like, why do I give a shit about stepping if almost none of the monsters can actually do attacks?
Well, movement's like an action in that, right?
Movement's an action, but so is stepping.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think, like, maybe I don't know what the, like, speed pace is or anything like that, but maybe it's something to do with that.
Well, so stepping is 5 feet, and a movement would be, like, 25 or 30 feet. So, I mean, if there wasn't an attack of opportunity,
is the only benefit to stepping that you don't trigger attacks of opportunity?
As far as I understand, yeah. But it might be that I'm missing something. I could look it up, but yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, so far, I enjoy the I think my favorite thing about it is the amount of customization that you have here.
Goal. Yeah.
Yeah, that you have at your disposal. I mean, I especially like the way they dealt with skills, like the proficiency levels and the skill feats. I think that's really cool. There does seem to be, like, and I know this has always been a problem with Pathfinder, there does seem to be, like, a big number explosion at higher levels. Like, when you're looking at, like, what people can do, they could, like, they'll have these crazy proficiencies at higher levels. As long as the monsters are balanced around it, it's fine. But it's very different from the what's it called, the
bounded accuracy
in 5e. Very different, because, like, bounded accuracy is completely out of the fucking window, obviously with Pathfinder 1, but also with Pathfinder 2, which is interesting, because it changes the flow of combat, especially when you're fighting weaker enemies. If you're fighting something that's, like, level 1 now, it has almost no chance of even hitting you at a higher level in Pathfinder 2e, as far as I can see.
That was the thing with a lot of the older D&D editions, which obviously Pathfinder's based on, and that's one of the things they wanted to fix with 5e, with bounded accuracy.
Yeah, I was told people complained about it. Not about bounded accuracy, but complained that they couldn't reuse weak
lower
monsters.
Yeah, indeed. Or that it just didn't feel good because like in 5e, even if you're fighting even if you're gonna lose a fight 95% of the time, it feels better to die hitting twice or 3 times across a combat than to just hit miss. Oh, you're dead. Have fun. So yeah, I think that's probably fair. Although I don't think it was a mechanic that was very quickly understood by the people who played 5e, because oftentimes they would just say, here's like a bunch of magic items that plus to your to hit, and now you're like level 6 with like a plus 10 to hit or something, and now you've kind of
I think most players and DMs don't even realize it's there because it's not very clearly stated. I think they could have been way better in like pointing out to DMs and players, hey, this is an actual like guiding philosophy of the mechanics of 5e, and it might help you if you understand this before you get into DMing. Not so important for players, but
it's more about creating your own content, because the actual like tools of the game are designed around that, like the monsters and the magic items. It's more about
but DMs are always going to go off the rails, so they should at least, well, maybe not always, but they often do, so they should at least have that knowledge in their hands so that they know they know what they're doing when they're going off the rails.
Yeah, that's true. I think there probably is tools out there in the DMG that are like, hey, you shouldn't increase hit points on AC. That seems like a bad idea. It's probably in there somewhere, but people don't read the DMG usually.
I mean, the DMG is got a lot of weird stuff that even I haven't read. I tried to read through the whole thing, and then I stopped because I got bored.
There's a bunch of optional shit in there too, like that you just
and a ton of lore and a ton of stuff about like advice that is probably better for like first time GMs.
What kind of advice would you categorize under that?
God, it's been a while since I read it, but I believe that there's like a lot of stuff about just general world building, things like that. Advice that I think might not be obvious to like a first time DM is going to be helpful to them, but that probably if you've DM'd 2 or 3 times, at that point, if you don't understand it, then you probably never read any help or got help or got education from anyone in the subtle art of DMing. But I think that it's been a while since I read it, but I do remember quite a bit of just general like world building advice and stuff like that, especially in the first like third of the book is like advice on world building, and then the second third is magic items, and then the third is rules, or maybe those are switched. I know that there's like basically advice, rules, magic items, I think is generally the 3 main parts of the DMG. But yeah. Anyway, one thing I really like in terms of the actual value proposition is that the core rulebook has basically the DMG in it, right? So it has every rule you need to play the game for the DM and the player in one book, which I like. I'm not a huge fan of requiring people to buy multiple books, especially if they're getting into the hobby for the first time. I think, it's fine if you want to give people options, to spend their money. But I think it's I've always preferred if you can get one book, pick up and play. And they've achieved that with this. Sort of. You probably still want to get the bestiary, but the nice thing about Pathfinder is they put all of their monsters online for free. So
nice, yeah.
You don't actually need the bestiary.
I think they kind of got that with 5e and the starter kit, because that was pretty good. It's not as complete as that, obviously, but it is a book you can pick up and play.
Yeah,
and it's got a relatively well-regarded adventure and stat blocks, and it's got dungeons and it's got dragons.
It's got dungeons. I will say, actually, this doesn't have an adventure in it. The most complete, ready-to-play book I've ever purchased is Dungeon Crawl Classics, because it has the rules for players, the rules for DMs, it has a bestiary, and it has an adventure in one book. And it's fucking crazy. But anyway, It actually has 2 adventures, I think, in one book. Anyway, but we are going to get into the situation. For those of you who are watching, you do not know this, but our fine feathered friend here did a little bit of off-screen stuff. I meant to do more, but I realized I forgot the first week that we were going to do it, and then a few days ago I remembered, and I was like, oh shit, we were going to do off-screen stuff. So we got you basically off-screen. The party went through several little steps. Basically, they just went back from the mansion. They weren't harried at all. They ran into a merchant. They got to the castle safe and sound. They didn't go through the town, back through Fiefdale or Fifedale. I forget what we landed on. Yeah, one of the two. Anyway, and they and when there, I believe that Putty, your character, discovered that Kristen is in fact the head of a thieves guild.
Yeah, that's true. And he's in fact a goblinkin.
Yeah. She's goblin.
So we executed her on the spot.
Yep.
She's dead.
Yeah. Dead. Dagny was like, good riddance.
Yeah, we're heading back to the fortress to pick up a replacement.
Everyone clapped. Whoa, this is very spooky music. Everyone clapped. But yeah, that was. But yeah, no. Kristen got some blankets. Ragni advised.
Guess he's exporting the Twitch VOD again.
Oh my god. Ragni remembered to. Ragni basically told you that where you're going is going to be so cold that if you don't have blankets, it could be rough if you spend the night in the mountains, which you almost certainly have to at least once or twice, depending on how far you push. And so he advised you guys get blankets. You use some of the wolf pelts, and then Kristen got just rankled up some blankets, and there were some suspicions on how she got them, but it turns out it was completely legitimate. And you were told by the rank and file that he didn't see any soldiers, with the exception of a courier that was escorted by 2 guards. He didn't think that really counted for, like an armed group. And so he didn't go, but then you told him to take the horses back. So now he's going back to Moordrake with the horses.
Yeah.
I think that's basically everything. You paid last night.
Oh, I did forget to remove, so let's do that now.
Yeah.
Do they have change?
Everyone had a good time. They have change.
Okay.
God, one of these days the answer to that's going to be no. It's going to be hilarious. I've never actually said no to that question. At least like with most like merchants, whenever a player's like, do they have change? I'm like, sure. I've never think to say no, but it would be funny if they're like, no, I only have
I always assume it's, well, I suppose they'd be more likely to have silver and copper.
I think if they're a small time merchant, they're like in a small town, they're probably not going to have much gold. I will say what I have said to players before, because I've had players that have gone to merchants and been like, I want to like exchange all my gold to platinum with you, sir. And the merchant's like, okay, I'm not a bank, leave me alone. that is something I usually don't.
You actually had that happen? Wow.
Oh yeah.
Is platinum? Is platinum still? What's the word? It's not printed, but is it a still minted currency in this setting?
It is minted, but only it is so rare and valuable that it is only minted by certain dwarvish clans.
Okay.
Basically, once you get past gold, it's only currencies or metals above that are only made
one,
by
right?
dwarves. What?
It's only one, right? It's only platinum.
Well, I mean, so in my setting there are
mithril and adamantine coins.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
There are dwarves in my setting that use adamantine coins, and they are worth 100 times what platinum is.
Okay.
So there are a lot of.
Is Electrum minted?
Electrum is minted. It's minted in the it's minted mainly in some of the merchant guilds, especially in the city of Tanzahor, some other cities around the world. It doesn't get spent a whole lot in your part of the world unless a foreign merchant might pass through. It is accepted though for its face value. All of the coins in this period are accepted for their face value, since obviously they are precious metals. Although sometimes there are debasing scandals, and that will cause people to get very paranoid about the value of their coins. Where a king will get in trouble for printing a bunch of brass coins that have that are painted gold. But that is we are caught up. So Pudrick, your character, Pudrick should be your medieval name. It's a great. Anyway, Tarius is awoken by Alessandro, and
thank God, else he would have died.
He would have died.
Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't mention this. We send the cart back with the rank and file as well.
This poor son of a bitch.
I do suggest he waits until some guards head that direction and rides with them. But it's up to him how he does it.
He's tying up fucking horses to the thing. So Renault gives him some tips on how to haul horses. I think
we probably want to visit some people, actually.
Oh, you do?
Oh, do I? I already said I left. I forgot about these things until I saw my inventory and realized we had things that we might want to do.
I was expecting you. Yeah, I was surprised when you're like, no, I mean, like, okay.
I keep forgetting his name. What's the uncle's name again?
Let me look it up. His name is Biggest Dickus. No, his name is Lord Martin Gormland.
Martin. And
the great uncle of Peter Gormland, the boy you're looking for.
And what was the Mad Mage's name again? The German one.
What, you're cutting out?
Really?
I can't hear you currently.
I wasn't cutting out.
Now
it's muted. Bad description. What? A hotkey on my laptop apparently transitioned over to my desktop. Yeah, fuck it, I'll fix it later. What was the Mad Mage's name again?
Rainwald the Mad.
If you ever say anything that has a capital M in it, warn me, because that will be when I'm muted. So let's not write down Moordrake today. That mail thing is definitely a short-term scenario rather than... I think the dagger, you've given me OOC indications that it's not magical, so I'm not too bothered about that.
I also have given you out of character implications that a drawer was locked when it wasn't, or that it was, but that it wasn't, but that it was. Anyway,
it's true.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, okay. We'll go to the castle if that's okay with you. We'll retcon and go back to the castle before we leave.
Okay, so as you're heading out of the city, you go, wait! I've got things to do. And the rest of the party goes, oh, okay. Well, let's turn back. And you guys head back to the inner part of the castle. When you arrive at the same checkpoint that gave you trouble the first time, the guards say, "Are you here to see Lord Martin, sir?"
Yes, and the Mad Wizard too.
Very well. He has informed us to allow you access. And they move aside. Okay, you walk in, skipping your step, and you arrive inside the castle. One of the stewards immediately is like, "Oh, yeah! No one told me you were coming!" And he immediately says, "Oh, where are you going, sir?"
First to Martin, and then to the Mad Wizard.
This way. And he leads you to a different place than you met Martin before.
Okay.
He leads you to a large antechamber that appears to be used as kind of like where the court would be, sort of the courtroom. No one's sitting in the throne right now. And you walk through there's also a series, when you're in there, a series of tapestries surrounding the room that appear to hold the crests, not only of the Gormland family, but of many of the influential knights and vassals of the Gormlands. And one of those tapestries is your family's.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You are led back into
how many? How many of those? How many tapestries are there? Maybe roughly.
There's probably about 12.
Okay. Cool.
Keep in mind, some of these are going to be pretty minor people, not necessarily like super important. Similar, but important enough to be honored in some way. And you were led, and you always, I think you would get the sense that the old Baron, his guiding philosophy was always that if you honor those who will fight for you, then they'll fight for you harder. You know that he was always very, constantly throwing feasts and bestowing gifts upon his vassals, things like that. So this is very in keeping with that. You're not sure if every baron in the land would display the tapestries of his vassals, but this one did. Anyway, so you go into a side hallway, and you're led into what appears to be a rare sight in this age. You are led into a library.
Ooh.
A hall of knowledge. It appears to, by our modern estimations, it appears to be a very, very small library. It's basically like a boardroom with several bookshelves. But to this period,
several bookshelves. That's pretty.
Oh
big.
Yeah. To this period, it's a vast collection.
Yeah.
You know that rich nobles. There's lots of ways nobles can show off their wealth: wine, gold, castles. But one of them is books. The more books you have, the richer you are. Although some nobles think it's nerdy to buy books. So anyway, you get in here and you see Martin Gormland sitting with several tomes on top of a table, and he appears to be reading. He notices when you come in, only because the floorboards are very creaky here. And
Can I roll stealth?
You roll stealth?
Yeah, sure. If I'm good to. 18.
Okay, he doesn't notice you then.
Hello, Martin. It is good to see you again.
Jesus Christ! Are you trying to sneak up on me?
Of course not. I just have a light step.
He says, it's good to see you again. And your companions, aide-de-camps and such. What do I owe the pleasure? I can't imagine you've made progress with Peter yet.
I would not say so, no, unfortunately. But we did investigate that manor we spoke of.
Oh, very good. You mean my old family manor? Dear goodness, I have not seen it since I was but a boy. What state was it in?
Not too bad structurally, but the place holds echoes. We were attacked by suits of armor. And then there were weird things in that place. But we recovered some things that you might have interest in. And I reach into my pocket, or my pouch, I guess. I'll pull out their signet ring, which he probably wouldn't like loose about in the world somewhere. Probably just causes trouble, so I give it to him. I'll give him the locket, and then I give him the sealed letter.
He takes the signet ring and looks at it and says, "Ah." And he spins the signet ring around and he says, "Very good. It's belonged to my father."
Glad to have it returned to its rightful place then.
"Yes. I suppose he left it there. Strange." And he puts it in a thing. What you said? What else was it you said you gave to him?
The locket.
A locket?
Yep, it had like a woman and a small boy. I think
he opens it.
Did we figure out the boy was him, or I'm not sure actually.
You guessed. You never figured out confirmation. He opens the locket and immediately confirms to you. He says, "My mother and myself."
Another item returned to its rightful place, then I'd say. And
A strapping young lad, wouldn't you say? And he holds up his picture.
Quite the looker in your young years.
"Oh yes, you should have seen me when I was 22." And he closes it and puts it away.
And I'll give him the sealed letter.
Let's see. He begins to open the letter. He says, "Where did you find this?"
In a drawer. I'm not sure if you remember the layout, but when you went up the stairs, there was a corridor to the left. And it was the first room on the left on that corridor.
He sits there thinking. My father's room, I believe. No, that was on the right wing. Is it my grandmother who stayed there? I have trouble remembering. Anyway, he opens the letter and begins to take out what appears to be a letter, and he begins to read it.
I'll wait just in case there's anything that comes up that he might want us for after he finishes reading it. But I like motion to leave as if to say like, if you don't need me for anything else, then I'll be on my way. But I'll wait to see if he does.
He reads slowly, and you can see that his eyes become heavy with some sort of knowledge as he reads this. He then folds it up very carefully and puts it in a drawer. And he says, I thank you for giving this to me. I'm not sure if what it says is true, but I suppose someone should know. Thank you.
I'll give him a nod, and then I'll say, my retainer here is heading back to Moordrake in the morning, but if anything comes up, do not hesitate to contact the captain, and then I'll leave.
He stops you before you leave, and he says, wait. And he reaches into his sort of vestments and pulls out a knife and stabs you. No, he pulls out your eternal reward. No, he pulls out... he pulls out a small velvet purse, and he says, for your trouble. And he puts it on the table.
I give him a nod respectfully, and then I'll pick it up and put it away. And then I'll leave unless he has anything else to say.
He has nothing else. He thanks you again and says good luck with your journey.
Cool. Is this early in... Oh, well, we'll finish off in the castle before I ask this. So yeah, we'll head off to the wizard, cool. The mad wizard.
If you look inside, you were given 25 gold pieces.
Okay, I'll ask this now then. Is it early enough that when we're done here, I could catch up with the young rank and file?
Sure.
All right, I'll put that on the cart with the rest of the job earnings for this trip.
Nice. You in this case, you go head to the wizard then.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the steward leads you to the same place as before. The wizard is once more in his tower, and once more his strange rat creature, pot-belly goblin boy, opens the door and bids you in. Begins to set a place for snacks, as and you can see the steward is terrified by the creature, walks away, and you see as Rainwald descends from the staircase that's in the tower, comes down and says, "Ah, I see that you have returned. What have you returned for?"
Well, my friend, I believe we were in task.
Capital M. Capital M.
I guess the mad. Yes, mad. Well, my friend, we were tasked in payment for the help you gave my wizard friend here to return to you with anything we thought may be of interest. I have 2 items that... Well, do not get too excited, I am unsure. I won't keep you long. We will be off, and we are off to a much more exciting opportunity. But I thought I should leave these with you, and take your time. We will be back in due time, and have a look at them. And I'll take out I'll get a large pack off my back, and I'll give him the loot and the dagger. And I'll say, like I said, take your time. We will be back.
He takes them both and says, he looks at the dagger and puts it down, and when he grabs the loot, he says, "Where did you find this?"
In the strange room that amplified and corrected singing.
I see. Well, that is to know. I will see if it is magic. So, you grant this to me as a reward.
Well, we will come back from our current job with perhaps some more items. We will figure out what we have gathered on this whole journey, and we will have a discussion about what is most valuable to you and what is most valuable to us. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
We have a very fine instrumentalist back in Moordrake, but I am unsure as to whether or not that will benefit the company so much as to give him a nice gift. But we will see in due time.
Very well. Thank you for your consideration. I will take my time observing it and prying its mysteries. And he puts it on an old table next to him, and shouts something in a foreign tongue at the pot-bellied goblin, who jumps up on the table and begins to spatter it with some sort of red substance.
Oh, and if you get time, you should take a look at the dagger, just in case. And then I'll leave.
He takes the dagger and says, "You!" And he throws it at the pot-bellied goblin, who jumps out of the way just in time.
See, it has great arc. It has fantastic arc. It is very good. You should take a look. And I'll leave.
Come again soon. As the door closes behind you.
All right. 25 gold on the cart, and then we're off to the mountains.
Excellent. You put the 25 gold in the cart. The guy's like, "Oh, cool. More things to attract bandits."
It's 25
And then he
You can use some of the copper to buy yourself some escorts if you wish.
just throws the gold at the bandits. "Please take it. Leave me alive." Anyway.
It's better get back to Moordrake, or it's coming out of your pay.
Okay. made this in a year.
Well, then you'll be indentured to the company for as long as it takes.
He cries.
Don't worry, it'll all be okay if you make it back to Moordrake.
He cries and begins to head out. No, he looks for he's gonna look for a caravan that he can travel with. You begin to, on your end, gather your company and head to the east.
In the mountains.
In the mountains.
I remember you.
Yep. Yeah, you begin to head east along the path of the spine, which cuts through the mountains. But before you get there, it's just a regular road for a while. Although you notice that the road is definitely not as high of quality as the other roads you've been traveling on. It looks less traveled, mostly dirt, occasionally paved with gravel, especially near the river. It's paved with gravel, but as you travel on it, you realize that most of this is probably going to be dirt for a while. You head out. I'm guessing that.
In a marching order?
Yeah. Is this your marching order?
Yeah, we're like all arms linked, doing a dance as we go. No.
Are you doing kicks?
Hold on. You're a blaster. But we need an anti-flank. I'm assuming I'm not going to be allowed to do this, but I figured out how to do it this week, so I'm going to do it. And if you don't let me do it, then that's okay. I'm going to do that.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. That's our order. You probably already know because you're more tech savvy than me, but it's alt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And something else you can do is
shrink Ragni.
You can shrink people by also holding alt.
Oh, wait. What do you mean?
So, like, normally you can only shrink someone to, or expand someone to be the size of square.
I see what you mean now.
But with alt, you can make them an odd size. So notice how I've made Ragni large, but not large enough to fill 4 squares. So that's something you can also
That's
do.
very useful for animals.
It is very useful for animal companions, yeah. Because animal companions, you feel like they should not be the same size as a person.
Well, I meant for like horses and stuff. They're technically large, but they should be a little thinner than
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like you've got a dire wolf that's there and it's the same size as a dragon wormling.
Dire wolves are huge.
They are, but dragon wormlings should be pretty big, even though they're the smallest dragons.
Yeah, they're supposed to be as big as a dire wolf. That's what it says next to them. In their description, it says exactly the size of a dire wolf. Don't ask questions.
See,
no, but anyway.
It's an adventure. As you turn the corner, there is a dire wolf-sized wyvern sitting on a wall, looking at you with its
You're like, that's clearly a wormling. It's exactly the size of a dire wolf.
Actually,
in fact, there's a dire wolf next to it for comparison.
Actually, isn't a wormling actually medium? Isn't it? Hold on. I'm checking this. I think it might be, and young dragons might be large. It is. Wormlings are medium. They're smaller than direwolves. They're like 7 foot.
But keep in mind, this is still the size of a person.
Yeah.
And it's a baby.
A big person. It can even be bigger than a person. It can be like 7-8 foot or something. I think can still get away with medium.
Maybe. I mean, I guess. Medium is kind of weird, because it's technically 5 by 5. Even though
that's in terms of like how much ground space it takes up, not height. I
mean, I've always thought that there is a sense in which it also contains this notion.
You think it's height. A 5 by 5 by 5? Oh, sorry, 5 by 5 by 5.
I think in general, obviously, most people are taller than. Well, a lot of people are taller than 5 feet, but like. At least it helps me imagine things like when I imagine like if I imagine what a gargantuan creature is, it helps if I imagine that it's also 20 feet tall, as well as 20 feet long and wide. or that it fits in that cube. Obviously, that doesn't always make sense, but anyway.
It makes sense. Well, I like how you just said, it doesn't always make sense, and my instinctual response is, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like, no, it does. Your thought process makes sense.
But yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about you setting out with this marching order. So you march in this beautiful diamond shape. It looks like the Sims logo. It's great.
Hi.
And you said that Ragni is anti-flanking. That's what his job is. Make sure you don't get flanked. Is that?
Yeah. Essentially.
Okay.
I always like to have heavy in the front, heavy in the back.
Heavy in the front, heavy. Yeah. Nice. Like rock and roll. No. Anyway. So you begin to set out with your troop. You're no longer on horseback. You're simply walking along the road and seeing where it takes you. You're unperturbed by anything for quite a while. You reach the river.
While we're traveling and unperturbed, I'm going to try and get Mosh to move at my command, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So what you're just trying to teach him the trick, go there.
Yeah. It'll be a DC 14 at the moment.
Okay, cool. What did we call the trick?
Move.
Okay, we just called it move. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll say in the time it takes you to get to the river, you can try it twice.
That's a success.
Hey, it's now a DC 13.
And I can try it again at DC 13, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Failure, though. I get overconfident and I start doing... Yeah. I start cutting corners in the way that I'm teaching him.
You're like, yeah, he's doing it. You just start fucking... catch a bone!
Alessandro, like, watch! Alessandro, I can do it just by pointing!
And Mosh is just like...
He goes and, like, licks my fingers. Like, no!
Damn you, Mutt. No, but but DC 13 is not bad. That means you succeed quite a bit of the time.
Yeah.
And it'll just keep getting better. So that's a pretty bare minimum. Once you can get him Mosh to start moving, then you can start teaching him how to murder. Which I don't think you've successfully gotten him to bite someone yet, but hopefully one day. And you could probably think of other weird tricks to teach him. Like, I don't know.
Sit. Jump.
I suppose technically stay. Like if Mosh sees meat, he might just run after it. And if you haven't taught him the command for stay, he won't stay put.
I completely think that's reasonable, that stay would be different than move, for sure.
Because it is with most, with every dog I've ever seen, it's very different. But I
think stay would probably start, but I have different purposes for Mosh than most people's dogs. So I'm starting with move instead of starting with stay.
I like it. I mean, I suppose if he runs towards the meat, you can just be like, don't! And you tell him to go somewhere else. He goes there and then he runs for the meat again. And you tell him to no, go! It's just constant. So you have some fun with Mosh, and everyone is very interested in this. Alessandro sort of says to you that he considered when he was younger getting a beast to fight with him, but he decided that it was not worth the attachment. But he said that animals can be very reliable, more reliable than most people. Once you train them properly, of course.
It has probably a lot to do with their instincts. People talk themselves out of their instincts a lot more than animals do.
I've never seen an animal talk itself out of an instinct.
I agree.
And Ragni says, well, I saw a talking bear at a circus a few years ago. Kristen says, I find that highly improbable. And they talk about that for a while.
And then we reach the river.
Then you reach the river. You reach the White River, which you are well familiar with. This river. You can, in fact, you're familiar with its smell. It's the smell you grew up with.
Wait. Oh, no, I'm on this. Oh no, I am on the White River. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
The Gladwin estate is on the in the delta of the White River. So it has this kind of. So the Salt River has a very different smell. It's near marshland. It connects to the sea. It smells like salt and old fishing. But the White River is glacier melt. So it smells fresh and clean. And sometimes you swear when you were growing up in the springtime it would smell like juniper berries or smell like cherry blossoms. It was very strange. But you're familiar with this clean scent of the flowing river. And if you I think it's it's a very clean river. Probably, I don't know if you do this, but the rest of your party members fill up their canteens while you're here. Just get some water.
I might bathe a little. Like I might splash my face,
Yeah, it's very cold and refreshing. It's because it comes from the mountains, so it is many degrees cooler than the outside environment, which is nice. But it's not like freezing either because it's traveled quite a way here. And yeah, so you guys pass the river. And you continue to head on the road. And after a while, it turns once again from gravel to dirt. Ragney says, "So, have any of you been to a mountain before?"
Well, when I was a kid, we built a cairn out of all the rocks down by the beach. And I think it was maybe about 8 foot tall. And we climbed it. Does that count?
No, laddie. I don't think that counts.
Then no. Never to a mountain.
Kristen says, "My father took me to the Lonely Mountain a long time ago, but that was when I was a little girl. I barely remember what it looked like." And he says, "Well, there are few mountains in this world as beautiful as a white spine cutting through the sky." And as you continue to walk, you begin to see growing on the horizon this mountain range that basically fills the entire eastern horizon, as far as you can see. Well, not as far as you can see, because as soon as you turn around to like the north or south, it ends. But as far as you can see to the east, it's filling the horizon. And as you continue to approach it, you realize that there's far less traffic on this road. On the other roads, you occasionally come upon caravans, merchants, but on this road, you haven't run into anyone yet.
Yeah, I think at that point when I said, and that was something I was prepared for. But I asked Ragney, how far until do your people patrol these roads at all? Guard them.
What was that?
Do your people guard these roads at all?
Oh, well, my kinsmen are supposed to guard as far west as where the mountains begin, so about 2 hours to the east of the White River. We'll be getting there soon. And they're supposed to guard the pass all the way to where it ends in White Vale. However, well, I suppose some of my kinsmen may have grown lazy of late. After all, if they let goblins through the hills, then they're supposed to patrol once every 2 to 3 days.
Well, perhaps they did not fail, and we will find our little Peter Gormland in the clutches of your people.
The phrase clutches there sounds slightly aggressive, but I assure you my dwarves would not kidnap a boy.
Oh, I mean it in no way, Ragni, of course not. I mean it just because you have very small hands, is all. It's,
Oh, I got bigger hands than you. Don't even question the size
Oh,
of it.
that is true, but I am a very malformed human, on average. On average. Also, you are a big dwarf, right? Let's not, runt of the litter, of course. Now, I was not suggesting there was any kidnapping going on, but if, I don't know.
Suggesting any kidnapping going on.
Now, if there was a battle between goblins that had a hostage and dwarves, and the dwarves were to win, then I think the boy would end up in the possession of the dwarves, don't you think?
Well, certainly. Well, yes, if my kinsman found the goblins, they certainly dispatched them. Goblins, especially a small pack, has no chance against a full patrol of armored dwarves. And I can't imagine it would be more than 5 or 6 goblins. Otherwise, they'd have trouble traveling stealthily.
Well, speaking of that, I think until we reach that point at which we are protected by your kin, we should slow our pace down and take a little bit of a detour off the road. Just keep ourselves at a low profile.
You'd like to travel off the road?
Not far, maybe a couple of feet. Just try to stick to the rocks and the under cover, where there's a bit of shade, and perhaps where we can spot things before they spot us.
Ragni looks... he just looks a little bit doubtful of this, and he says, well, we can do that, I suppose, but it will slow our pace down. The path is cut in such a way that it is the fastest way there. If we travel through the brambles and rocks, we'll certainly have to do a bit more maneuvering. If you're okay with that, I suppose we can.
We have the rations. I don't see any reason why we need to get there within the... Oh yeah, well, hold on. Let me just check something.
There's a child that has been captured, he says.
Look. He's probably the leader of the Institute by now. Alright, don't worry about it.
What's the Institute?
Okay, it's 5 days a week. Okay. I see no reason why we have to, look, the goblins clearly captured the child for a reason, right? I think if he's still alive now, he'll still be alive in 5 days.
Well, I suppose.
No, we haven't got any ransom. We haven't got any notice of a ransom unless that's being kept from us. Anyway, keep progressing.
Precisely. I find it strange that there's been none so far.
Yes, that's just occurred to me. But regardless, I think our lives are more important. I'll say this straight up. I think our lives are more important than his at the moment, and I look after my men before I look after our clients. We'll stick off the road. Just a little bit. We'll be in the lands of your people soon. And then I will feel more at ease, because if they're anything like you, I can trust them with my life.
Ragni and Alessandro nod at this and respect your sentiment. Sir Renault seems to think nothing of it. Kristen, however, you can tell she disapproves of the sentiment that the men come for 4 clients.
That's fair.
Especially because of how indebted the fucking is. She's
Hopefully,
like, no, we have to fucking do some more.
True, but hopefully I built up enough goodwill with all of the money. I mean, we've done all right for ourselves. We've made like 60 gold or something. So
yeah, you've made some good money.
Yeah. So,
but I just
it's true. No, yeah. Kristen will remember this.
Kristen's definitely the one in the party to look a little bit askance at that. But
look, the clients need our help, and we need the men to do that.
The Walking Dead, she will remember this pops up in the corner of your screen. No, anyway,
you've lost reputation with Kristen.
You're a wild child with Kristen. But yeah, so you begin.
This is a slight tangent, but I don't think it'll take long. Did you know that if you get Caesar's higher than neutral reputation quest, even once, you are no longer eligible for Caesar's favor ever again? The positive reputation quest.
Really?
Yes. So I had Caesar's Hire for ages, which is a really good. It gives you fucking free stealth, boys. And then because I was maneuvering politically and shit, so like I was neutral for a bit, and I got Caesar's Hire, and then I'm back in the positive, and I never got that quest. I was like, why? And I looked up on the wiki, and apparently, if you get the neutral quest, you just Caesar's Hire is gone for good. Or sorry, Caesar's Favor. Really
Yikes, that's rough.
Yeah, so I have to buy my stealth boys from the safe house guy. Or it doesn't buy it, he just gives them to him.
I always go for Kaisar's Wrath. No, anyway, but
in due time, okay. They have for some reason their shipping routes on stealth boys are better than Jacobstown. Okay, so like you gotta
don't let the Nightkin find out, because I bet they would do a coup and join Caesar's Legion just to fucking get stealth. They're like, what? You got a stealth?
Who's this random guy who shows up in a safe house with some bighorners nearby? We should go take him.
That would actually be a really interesting resolution to the quest at Repcon. Like if you told you know the Nightkin there, you're like, hey, you can join Caesar's Legion, they can supply you, and they're like, cool. And then you have to fight Nightkin later on. Yeah, that would be fucking cool.
Manius just has two Nightkin with
yeah, that'd be cool. But anyway, also terrifying. Nightkin would be rough at Hooverdam, because they could sprint right up past the fucking bullets and just clock the NCR soldiers. But yeah, so that is
we're getting off the road. We're getting off the road slightly, taking some details.
Yeah,
just moving the slower pace to try to make sure that if we have any encounters with anything nasty, or even anything really, like to control the engagement. You know, if anything that we need to interact with, that we see it before it sees us, and we can make the decisions rather than them.
I like it. So I'm guessing you are sneaking then. You're stealthing.
I'm stealthing.
Cool.
And I think I'd like to make active perception checks rather than passive, if that's possible. I'd like to be actively looking for stuff.
That's totally fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is everyone actively looking for stuff? You and Alessandro, just you? Who's actively looking for stuff and who's not?
Yeah, probably me and Alessandro. That's a good show.
Oh, okay. And then everyone's sneaking, I'm guessing.
Everybody who doesn't disobey me, I guess. Maybe I can make an animal handling check on Mosh to be
you can try to teach Mosh to, we'll call it, just stay quiet. Or quiet.
Alright. I will start with Mosh then. Nope.
He's like, "Ruff! Just randomly barking. But the rest of them, why don't you make stealth checks?
Okay. 15 for Tarius, Ragni, Reynold, Kristen, Alessandro.
Good rolls.
Yeah, pretty solid.
Especially from Alessandro and Kristen. Of course Alessandro rolled well. He's a fucking champ at everything he does. Okay, so you are hiding in the... you're now at the mountains, which are sort of surrounding you. You can feel this sort of cool breeze running down the slopes of them towards you. And as you begin to approach, there is still greenery and undergrowth and brushes, thistles to the side of the road, and as well as rocks. As you continue, the sort of thistles and underbrush sort of thins out and the rocks increase, but there's always at least something you can kind of take cover behind. Of course, the rocks slow you down considerably because it obviously involves actually slowly stepping over shale and maneuvering, but you're able to do it to Ragni's chagrin. You definitely get the feeling that Ragni, being in his homeland, he would rather just walk proudly through the path, but probably singing a song the entire way. But you probably get the feeling that maybe something's going on. If goblins could get through here, then who knows what could. And you guys are slowly maneuvering in this way. Eventually, after probably about 2 or more hours of traveling, things begin to get kind of cold. And the sort of that chill wind.
I saw the cat.
You saw the cat?
Yeah, just walked past the door. It's not in the room. They walked past the door and onwards.
That bastard.
Pretty big. Anyway. How old is it?
What?
It's pretty, like relatively big. How old is it?
He's 3 months old.
Yeah. Okay, that looks about right then.
Oh, he just came back. Yeah. Come here, bud. Come here. Oh, we'll see if he comes. Anyway, but yeah, it begins to get a little colder, and you definitely think to yourself, yeah, it's good that we brought the blankets. You hear,
for reference, me, Alessandro, and Ragni have the pelts, and then Renault and Kristen are gonna have the blankets.
Okay, I like it. Cool. What was the distinction there? Like, why'd you...
Me and Alessandro like hunting, and I imagine Ragni, out of the three of them, would probably be more comfortable with the natural pelt. And then I think Renault would definitely want a blanket. And then Kristen was kind of just left. And she got the blanket, so... Yeah.
Nice. So, you begin to hear a noise up ahead. At first, it kind of sounds like it might be a wild animal. It kind of almost... At first, it almost sounds kind of like a warthog or a boar. Kind of like this... But as you continue to approach very slowly and silently, why don't you make me a perception check?
Okay. Can I either get advantage on this or have Alessandro roll one as well?
I will let you do whichever you'd like. You can either have him aid you, or you can both roll.
Let's say we'll both roll. So mine will go first, and then good old Alessandro.
Oof. Yeah, it does sound a lot like a rutting pig or something, but you're not exactly sure what it is beyond that. You think it's unlikely to be a pig. But then again, I don't know. Maybe you don't know. I mean,
how far away is this noise?
The noise appears to be coming up the path, probably about, I don't know. It couldn't be closer than 100 feet because it kind of sounds like it's in the distance. Okay. But it's kind of echoing off of the. You're now kind of starting to get into the valleys of this mountain.
The valleys.
And the valleys. And then the guy goes, "He's goes, welcome to Tarra!"
Hey, mate, how's it going in, mate?
But you continue to listen, and it seems to you to just be like it's echoing off of the walls of the mountains in some sense.
And so it's almost up like the path of the And then what's around the path? Is there any sort of foliage? Is there any sort of rock formations?
Yeah, there's rocks. Yeah, and I'll say with that perception check, you notice that there appears to be an outcropping that sort of raises up to the left of the path up ahead, and it could be that the noise is coming from up there. You're not sure.
And
you can't see what's up there. If I went
around the left, do I think I could get up to the outcropping?
Yes, you could climb up there.
How difficult does it look to climb? As in, like, do you think I could do it stealth? No, I mean, obviously it'd be my check, but is it possible to do it stealthily?
You think probably, yeah. You can. It's there. It's very much possible. Yeah.
Okay. Then I will halt everybody, pull out my blades, and I will start walking up the left-hand side and trying to.
Okay, so you're going on your own.
Yeah, for now. To continue scouting, I guess I'll say Alessandro, keep your distance, start circling around, make whatever movements you want to, but try and get eyes on it yourself. But I'll start actually getting closer.
Cool, yeah. So you begin to walk up the path, and eventually you reach just below the outcropping, and you begin to climb up the rocks. I'm gonna say that it's a fairly easy climb, but I will need you to make a DC 10 athletics check.
Can I use acrobatics?
No.
I'm just pulling myself up? Because I don't think I'd even try to do that.
You gotta pull yourself up, yeah.
Okay. Then I'm not even going to try to do that. Yeah, as Tarius. If I can't just, like, jump for rocks, then I wouldn't just try to pull myself up. That's not something he thinks he's good at.
Yeah, well, I mean, also jumping would definitely not be very quiet if you're, like, jumping around.
Well, depends if I do it well or not. Can I... Is there anywhere there that I could just climb at half speed? Is there any, or is it all pretty difficult?
Make an investigation check.
Oh yeah, good. 19?
You find what appears to be some sort of... You at first you just think it's this kind of weird, muddy, kind of shale area to the right of this outcropping. You're not sure what it is. When you get to it and you start to unearth what it is, it appears to be several bones that have been deliberately placed to make a ladder here that you can easily climb up.
Okay. Can I make a nature check to see if I have any idea what kind of bones these are?
Sure.
7.
Children bone. No, I'm just kidding. You think that they're really big bones?
Very big bones.
Probably something like a femur bone, but you're not sure what it's from. Like a leg bone, but you're not sure what it's from.
Oh, okay. Wait, is it big for a leg bone, or is it big because it's a leg bone?
It's both. It looks like it wouldn't just be the leg bone of a small creature, but you're pretty sure it is a leg bone. If it's not a leg bone, then it's from a giant or something, because it's pretty big.
So in terms of big, do I think it's bigger than a human?
Than a human's leg bone would be, yeah.
Okay.
You think so?
Yeah. All right. That was the impression I was getting. Just confirming. I would like to try to stealthily climb this ladder.
You're trying to stealthily climb it?
Yeah. With supreme stealth.
With supreme, is that a feat you have? Supreme stealth?
Yeah. It gives me plus 20 on my climbing
on all
stealth checks.
On all climbing. No, it's called the Bone Master. You have a plus 20 to stealth when climbing up bony surfaces.
How did you know? Have you been looking at my character sheet again?
Or when handling a boner. No, anyway, so you begin to climb up this thing, and I'm going to let your previous check stand.
I'm not going to argue with that.
So you are able to get up, and you don't hear anything. You don't hear any change. You don't think it's heard you climbing. You reach the top, whatever this thing is. You reach the top, and then you see. It's kind of far to the back of this weird shale outcropping, and so you didn't see it before. And it's still somewhat daylight, so that's another reason you didn't see it. But there is a fire glowing up here, and you can feel its warmth when you stick your head up. And in addition, yeah, a big one, almost like a bonfire.
Almost like a bonfire.
And in addition, there is a hulking creature next to it, humanoid in form, but it is much larger than a man, much larger than the biggest human you've ever seen. It's fat. It has this giant skull, and it's wearing a what appears to be a leather loincloth, and it is cooking what looks to you to be a whole deer on a massive log over this fire.
This can't be good for the dwarves. I feel like we'd be doing people a favor to deal with this. I would usually.
And the noise you were hearing before that sounded like a pig letting, you now realize that it's it eating. It appears to be slowly picking chunks off of this with its bare hands, just ripping viscera from this deer and just and it just sounds like this awful noise.
So you said, in terms of the outcropping, it was towards the back, so not near the point. Completely the opposite side of the point, right?
What's the point?
Oh, I was imagining the outcropping as like that, but I guess it's more like flat.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, more like a balcony than a.
Yeah, so it's positioned back away from the path. It's not,
Yeah, it's not close to the
towards
edge of the outcropping, I guess I should say.
It is probably about 30 feet away from the edge of the outcropping.
How far away is it from me?
You're at the edge of the outcropping, so 30 feet.
That makes sense. I look to see where Alessandro has ended up.
Alessandro appears to be sort of crouched behind a rock with his bow ready, but he can't see what's going on up there.
Okay.
You also see Ragni and Sir Renault sort of sitting behind a rock together, and Kristen is hiding in a bush.
I survey the camp area and look for corpses and bones.
Yeah. When you take a second to more look at what's around this creature, and if you'd like, you could make a check to try to identify it if you think it's something that you'd
The creature? Sure, I can give it a go. What kind of check would that be?
It would probably be a nature check or a history check, but the information you get would be different depending on which you make.
My check would be based on hearing stories in taverns and stuff like that.
A history, then. History.
15.
You think that this is some form of giant. Possibly an ogre or a troll.
Did I hear anything about identifying ogres, trolls, and then full giants? Have I ever heard about trying to figure out which one it is?
You think that it's probably not a full giant because you've heard stories that giants could in some cases, pick up houses and crush them in their hands. You don't think this creature could do that. He is very large, but he's not to some incredible degree. Then again, perhaps those tails were tall, and maybe giants are only this big. You don't know, but this just doesn't seem as big as you were told like a full giant was. But you were told that ogres and trolls would sometimes wander through mountains and hills, and they would prey on passerby.
Are there any differences in the stories between ogres and trolls in terms of trying to identify them?
Not with that check, no.
Okay.
No.
And is there any rumors about the regenerative properties of trolls that I may have heard?
You heard that trolls are very hard to kill.
Okay.
You think from what the stories were, you'd rather this be an ogre than a troll.
Yeah.
Because you heard that trolls were smarter and more difficult to fell in battle.
And from that 15, I have obviously not just like if I was to do more than just look at it, if I was to interact with it in some way, can I think of anything that could potentially identify it?
I think if you were to speak to it, if you were brave enough, then that might be a good indication, because you know that trolls are smarter than ogres, and you know that it would probably. So you don't have a frame of reference, but you think if you were able to speak to it, you might be able to tell the difference between how just by its candor, by how it talks.
By how it talks, and are trolls and ogres known to speak Low Ursian?
You don't know. you think it's probably unlikely.
Nobody I've ever talked to has tried to talk to a troll. I guess.
you know that they speak a language that is simply usually commonly referred to as giant, and I don't know if anyone in the party speaks giant. I don't think so.
Okay. Let me just have a check.
But maybe it speaks Lower Risian. Who knows?
Maybe. Who fucking knows? Why do you speak Draconic? We're gonna have to talk about that later.
It lives in the mountains here. Maybe it speaks Dwarvish.
Oh yeah, can I look at the corpses again? I forgot about that.
Yeah, you begin to look through the corpses, and you see two more corpses that look like they're big animals. One of them definitely looks like a horse. You've seen horse skulls before, so this thing definitely killed at least one horse or ate one horse.
Have we seen any wild horses in the mountains on the way here?
No, there's no wild mountain horses that you've heard of. And all of a sudden a stampede of wild mountain horses comes through. You're like, fuck this giant, there's a stampede! Anyway, but you also see, upon further inspection, what looks to be clothing and armor that has been wrenched off of someone's body. You don't see any bodies, though, which is interesting. Well, maybe it is. But you don't see any what looks like a humanoid skeleton. You only see these really big... I will say this. Only the really big bones of the horse skeleton remains. Like, I think you've probably seen some bones from a horse before, and you're pretty sure that it has smaller ones than this in some places, like around its head and around its some of its connective bones. But all that remains are the really big rib bones, the really big spine, the huge leg bones.
How far is it from the outcropping to the ground?
20 feet.
How late is it? Is it getting dark?
It is probably... You can see the sun is getting low in the sky. It probably will become dark in the next 2 to 3 hours.
Is that deer the last thing it has here to eat?
Yeah, it looks like it.
How far could the deer... How long do I think it's going to take for it to finish this deer?
You think probably a half an hour. It's really moving through it. It also reaches down next to it. You didn't see this before. As this huge leather skin that looks like it's been horribly, shoddily made. And he opens the top of it, and he pours it down his gullet, and tons of this blackish red liquid splashes all over his face as he drinks whatever's inside it. He closes it and puts it back down and continues to rip pieces of meat off of the body.
Can Alessandro see me?
Yeah, he can see you. He's watching you. Alessandro quickly but silently begins to position himself through the rocks and moves towards you. He begins to climb up the bone ladder, and once he's about 5 feet below you, he whispers, "What is it?"
Giant. Troll. Hopefully ogre. Nothing good. Maybe after it finishes its meal it will go to sleep and then we hit it.
He nods and begins to crawl back down.
I think you should be up here to take some shots. Unless you think you can get a position somewhere else.
He climbs back up and says, "You want to wait here until it's finished?"
It can be less than a few more ticks of the sun. And
okay.
If it falls asleep after eating, I mean, that's what I do.
He says, "All right," and he just sits there on the ladder.
Okay, if he does not sleep, I mean, that seems very uncomfortable as hunter, but if he does not sleep, then we will return to the party and we battle this thing. There is no use keeping it in here in these mountains. It can only do harm to these dwarves.
Do you say all this?
Yeah.
Okay. He nods.
Do you want to stay on
You
the
continue
ladder?
to hear the
Did
What?
Alessandro stay on the ladder?
What would you say?
Does Alessandro stay on the ladder?
He does stay on the ladder because you told him to stay.
I told him to stay here, but I also mentioned that looked very uncomfortable for a half an hour wait.
Well, that's why he got down. Now he's confused. Okay, he gets back down.
No, I mean he could come up, right? Or am I?
Well, you're on the ladder still.
Oh, I thought I was on the outcropping. Okay.
No, if you got onto the outcropping, it'd be pretty easy for this thing to see you. If I didn't describe this properly, you're basically just right peeking over the edge of it, right? Okay. That's how I've been imagining it. If you want to get closer and get onto the outcropping, you can, but I'm going to have you roll stealth again.
Yeah, that's fine. But so it's 30 feet away. How wide is this outcropping?
It's probably about 40 feet wide.
Okay, so it is relatively small, so that does make sense. Okay. I guess I'll get back down because we can hear when he's finished eating. So I guess I will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get back down and you continue to hear, and then you hear the sloshing of that liquid again, and then.
Do not want to see when it shits.
I'm sure you will smell it first. And he says, "Have you ever fought something like this before?"
No, never. Not even close.
Do you think the others have?
Maybe. But not Kristen. I doubt Renault either. Maybe Ragni. Ragni is old. He's probably fought everything. If you think you can get them and get back without giving up our position, then do it. But else, do not risk anything.
He brings his hands together and he puts a thumb in his mouth and he goes, and you can see him blowing into his hands, but you can't hear anything. But you do hear as Ragni in the distance starts to go, "Oh, what is that?" And he starts to climb out behind the rock and hobble over here.
Okay. And I haven't noticed any differences with the eating pattern.
No. No. Oh, delicious.
Is it just Ragni?
What?
Is it just Ragni?
Ragni's the only one who came. Ragni says, "What was that? How dare you make that noise, boy? You do it again and I'll..." And,
does Alessandro say anything, or should I?
What'd you say?
Does Alessandro say anything? Else I'll talk to
Alessandro turns to you and he nods and says, "Okay." And he turns to you and says, "Dwarves can hear at higher pitches than you or I."
We speak of him like he is the dog.
The dog also responded to that.
I say to Ragni, there is some sort of giant up there. Do you have any experience?
Oh, a giant. Well, the story of my clan is an ancient ancestor of mine supposedly fought a cloud giant hundreds of years ago, but I myself, I fought trolls once in a war years ago.
Immediately, I point up the ladder and I say, "Is that a troll?" And then I offer him to start climbing.
1 second. He begins to climb up, but you hear his back creaking as he gets up there. He reaches the top and begins to climb back down, and he says, "That's no troll."
Then an ogre, perhaps?
Could be. I've heard of ogres being in the mountains sometimes.
If we leave this
I'm
one
really
live,
going to have to speak to my brother about this.
if we let this one live, it's only going to cause trouble for you and your people, no?
Probably. I can't trust an ogre as far as you can throw a goblin.
Do they sleep?
That doesn't make any sense. You can throw a goblin pretty far. Anyway, do they sleep? Yeah, I believe all giants sleep.
Well, then it's simple. We, the three of us, we wait till it's finished, we hope it sleeps, and then I sneak up to it and give it a good fucking, and then Alessandro with my swords.
Oh, we don't need to be there for this.
with my swords. It's a colloquial term.
I know, it's okay.
It's colloquial term from up north.
Whatever you're into, sir. I just don't want to be involved.
Colloquial term, trust me. I hit it very hard.
I should have brought more hand sanitizer. I didn't know we were. Anyway, but okay. He says, I think that's probably a good idea. If we face it head on, it'll probably have the advantage. What with how big it is.
So I will head in there. Alessandro can take some shots. You can cover my retreat, and then you can catch it. And I will also cover your retreats.
He nods and says, we also might be in luck. From what I remember, well, trolls, they were bastards. They used their bare claws and teeth to kill us. My men, that is. They didn't kill me. But,
glad to hear it.
Ogres, from what I remember, they use weapons, clubs, those sorts of things. If you can somehow get it away from him, which will be blimey hard, because it'll be about as big as a tree trunk. But if you can get it away from him, he won't be able to kill you as easily when he wakes up.
That is a good idea, and since you have at least some knowledge of these creatures, their skin, it looks harder than ours. Would you compare it to...
I'm not making a lampshade out of him! No, I'm just kidding.
Would you compare the hardness of the skin to chainmail? Maybe splint? Plate?
Plate or split? He says, no. Certainly not as strong as plate mail. They're clumsy creatures, but I suppose a good strong hit with a spear or axe should pierce their hide. And now they think about it, it's almost like they have hide armor.
And it doesn't look to be a very dexterous creature.
No, I'd imagine if you tripped it, it would probably fall and kill itself.
Okay, that gives me confidence. Alright, well, what do you think? We wait for it to sleep and then we strike?
I like the plan.
Okay. Then we'll wait until it finishes eating, and then I'll take a peek. And see if it looks like it's looking for food, or whether it's settling down. Nope.
After
It's a bad time to lag out. You lagged out a bit as you did that, and it just froze on you going.
As the eating finishes, you hear one last gulp of whatever liquid that is, and then you hear a creaking, and then you hear a very loud, resonant burp that rings off the walls of where you are, and like a belch, and it's such a large belch that Alessandro begins to cover his nose because you can tell he can smell it from here. You don't think you?
That
you,
is a
you
good
don't think
warning,
you can, but you think he has
Alessandro.
probably more keen sense than you do.
Yeah, but I imagine I say that's a good warning, Alessandro, because I imagine it's coming this way.
Yeah, exactly. You cover your nose. You start breathing through your mouth, and then the creature begins to sing. It begins to sing a weird little drunken song, in a foreign tongue, probably the giant you were told of, the giant language. It sounds resonant and deep, this kind of as it begins to slur its words, and you can hear this massive as it lies down, and the singing begins to get softer and quieter.
Okay. and then I'm going to slowly start climbing the ladder, and then once the singing is gone, if it does go, does it go? I'll wait like 10 minutes.
It does. It goes.
I'll look up and check to see if he's sleeping.
You see him lying on his back facing the fire.
Okay.
He's facing away from you, in fact.
Okay.
Not that it would matter, because you think he's sleeping.
Yeah. I'll slowly move on to the side of the overhang.
Outcropping?
The
Cool.
outcropping, yeah. And then I will usher them to prepare themselves on the outcropping before I approach.
You want the whole party up here, or just those two?
Just those two.
Okay, cool. So those two climb up. As you approach, you can see that this guy definitely is asleep. You can hear him very softly. Surprisingly, with how loud his belch is, his snore is very silent, and you have to get close to him to even hear it. He has a huge club sitting next to him. This great club. You think you could pick it up, but you'll need to make an athletics check. In addition, he does have regular-sized javelins in a bag at his side. You could easily take those, you think.
Okay. I'll take the javelins and secure them in my pack.
Cool.
I'm thinking about the club. Ooh.
I'm wondering if you're thinking of what I just thought of.
I think we might be. Is it? What did you think of?
I won't tell you. You need to tell.
Oh,
I'm not gonna give.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Well, that's not very nice.
That's not very nice. What's your idea?
In a combat scenario, how long would it take me to get my tinderbox out and light this club on fire?
That would be kind of difficult.
Okay.
Unless the club is covered in some sort of resin or something.
If I were to put a torch to it, would that be relatively easy?
It might take a couple rounds. You think you could probably start to get it cooking? I will say, you do see a roaring fire not too far away from the club.
That's true. Is that what you thought of?
I thought of you just rolling it into the fire. He might not notice since there's already a fire there.
There is. I really want to get that first attack on him. But getting the club off of him... How? I mean, he could punch. He'd probably kill me with a punch. It probably doesn't matter that much to Tarius whether he punches me or whether he clubs me. So actually, with that thought, I'll take out the two swords.
If anything, at least the punch might leave you brain damaged for the rest of your life. At least the club will have the decency of killing you quickly. Okay. You'll at least be done with.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna roll into initiative on this round then, if that's all right with you.
That's what my dad always used to say to me. He'd be like, "Son, if you're ever gonna hurt yourself, make sure it's so bad that it kills you quickly." Okay, let's see. Okay, initiative. Oh man.
Obviously, this will be surprise round.
Oh boy. Yes, this would be surprise round.
Is that for? Yeah, I'd say everyone's surprising him, right? There's no chance of.
Actually, let's have another round since it's been a while of stealth. The only way you can fail is if you fail against his disadvantaged passive perception, which is very low, I will tell you.
I'm sure I'm capable. No, I'm good. Okay.
You're good. You're very good.
Okay, so all three of us can surprise round him, right? Okay.
Well, no, if you want the others to surprise round him, I need you to make stealth checks for them as well.
Okay. Would they get anything for being further away? Because I moved. It must be harder, right? Getting close to him. They're in a shadowy corner. Is there any way?
Well, the shadows don't matter because his eyes are closed.
Yeah. Is there any way you can detect them being there? They're not moving.
The only way is if they, if they're participating in combat and they immediately get, charge at him, he might hear that.
But if they fail this, I would still be surprising him, right?
Yeah, no matter what. Surprise, I believe by Raw and the way I do it is to the individual.
Yeah.
So, one individual can surprise them even if the rest don't.
Okay. Then, sure. Hold on. It's an 11. That probably beats a -5, right? And then Alessandro doesn't actually have stealth proficiency, but he is very dexterous.
He doesn't fucking need it, though.
Of course he doesn't. He's Alessandro.
Alessandro. We should fucking make the theme song for this show the Alessandro by Lady Gaga. That's an actual song.
I don't think I've ever heard that. I listened to that right.
Oh no, I think it's Alejandro, not Alessandro. Never mind.
All right, Marshall, anyway, I'm attacking this ogre.
Okay, you're attacking the motherfucker. Yeah, you all beat his perception. And let me have him roll in just for fun. Just
to ruin those assassination rogues we don't have. That's nice to see.
We call that a dirty one. Okay, cool.
All right, so I assume this is going to be an advantage for the first attack at least, right? So, I don't like that question mark, Marshall. That's a shame because I'm pretty sure this would have crit anyway. But there you go. Can't complain about crits.
By the way, in the surprise round, Ragni went before you. What did you have him do?
Oh. Do I want to min-max this, or do I want to roleplay this? I feel like I need to stay alive in this campaign, and I should take every advantage I get. Alright. He is 25 feet. He was 30 feet away anyway. I guess maybe not, actually. He will move 15 feet towards the ogre. Yeah. He's going to move 15 feet towards the ogre and end this turn.
Okay. It is now your turn, and you attack, and you get a crit.
Although it would have been a crit anyway, because he would have been asleep, right? So, but yeah.
Super crit, quadruple. No, anyway, you
deal 10 damage.
You deal 10 damage.
I'll take my offhand attack. It won't be an advantage. 23 to hit. Well,
that hits.
So that's another 3 damage, and then. Can I argue this guy's still in a bit of a state of shock and I should be getting advantage on all of these this turn, or are you only going to allow the first one?
I will... It's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll give you advantage on the others, sure.
Okay. You're
going to need it.
I imagine. So, I've stabbed in once, I've stabbed in twice. What's the ogre's reaction?
He immediately begins to and opens his eyes.
Alright, I'm going to slash down on him with an action surge. And I'll get one more attack in at advantage.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but we have a guest.
I did, yeah. Very, very pretty.
Yes. Yes. Anyway.
Very clean, actually. I haven't seen like a white cat that's tabby, but it has that clean of like white patches all over. That's a lot of white.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
That's very nice.
Very cool. Yeah, very good looking cat for sure. But anyway, and easy to hold as you can see for a kid.
Yeah, pretty good for a kid. 17. Will 17 hit this thing?
17 does hit, and you deal damage. Roll damage.
10 max damage, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so that's a total of 23 that round. And then that's all I've got. So we will move over to Alessandro.
Well, it was a mistake to put the cat on the keyboard. Okay.
Of course. That sounds like a horrible idea. Alessandro is going to bonus action mark the ogre.
Okay.
And then automatically hit, right?
Yes, it should.
So he's going to do 11 piercing plus 1. So Alessandro's going to deal 12 piercing as he shoots an arrow into it.
Okay, yeah. It begins to scream out in pain. It's now been hit multiple times from you and Alessandro. I forget, what'd you do with Ragni? What'd you have Ragni
He moved
do?
15 feet towards it.
That's right, okay.
And this is still the surprise round, so he doesn't act this turn, right?
No.
Cool. Also, should we be having a bit more dramatic music than this? Am I about to die? Or Or is this
No, I
tranquil
like
enough
this. This is perfect.
for my
It's
death?
the perfect
Yeah.
level of
I actually
trauma.
kind of agree with that. Like it's like don't walk into the light, Tarius.
I make the music calmer the more dire the situation becomes as death begins to slowly take you. No, but you it is, yeah, so I think it's now the start of real initiative with Sir Reynolds.
Renault is not in the battle, and I don't plan on
Oh,
him getting involved.
okay. And Mosh isn't in the battle?
Indeed, and you can take Kristen off as well.
Okay, so Ragni. What does Ragni do?
Ragni is now going to engage the ogre, and he's gonna. Yeah, actually, Ragni's gonna. Commanding strike and target me with it. It's a 14 to hit from Ragni.
That hits.
That hits? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Ragni's going to deal his nice 12 piercing with his big old... What did we say? Great axe, right? Yeah, he's got a big old axe. And then his ability lets me make an attack. I am curious about something. I'm going to read up real quick. It's not going to make a difference as to what I do, but I'm still going to do it. If your PC hits an enemy, so that means if I hit on somebody else's turn, it still applies, right? Like, so what I'm asking is, if I hit using this mechanic, will Alessandro's attack hit, even if I don't hit on my turn?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it doesn't specify my turn, like extra attack or something like that. It's up to you. Like, oh, right,
yeah. Without, I mean, I had the book is behind me. Without looking too deeply for now, I'll look it up later. But
Sure.
Temporarily, I'll say that it's fine. Yeah, it can hit if you hit.
In that case, I also need to check my magical item to see if I can use that when it's not my turn. A creature that puts... When you make an attack roll wearing the amulet, doesn't say on my turn. Okay. Then, during this attack, I will use my amulet to forego making the dice roll to make it a 10, so it's a 16 to hit. So that'll,
okay.
I think, hit, right? So that's 10 piercing from me. Ooh, that's nice. So 12 piercing from Ragni, 10 piercing from me. And that's the end of Ragni's turn.
Yeah. You can, by the way, at this point, with all these hits, this ogre, question mark, is bleeding spouts of its own blood. I mean, it's almost drowning in its own blood as it's stumbling to get up near the fire.
Okay. Yeah, on my turn, I'm going to action disengage and move 30 feet away from it.
Okay.
And then Alessandro is going to attack and hit for 6 plus an additional 4. So 10 damage from Alessandro.
The ogre begins to stand up, grasps its mighty great club, and begins to pull up, bleeding from its entire body, to strike down and just whack-a-mole Ragni right into the ground. And as he reaches, an arrow goes straight into his eye, killing him dead. And he falls to the...
Does he only have one eye?
No, he has two, but the arrow only hit one.
Sure, I'm just curious. That would have been interesting.
He falls backward into his own fire.
Nice.
And you can smell cooked troll.
Nice shot, Alessandro. I put the blades away. I was almost going to get the bow out. Ragni, good hitting out there.
Alessandro says, "Oh, the bow you rarely use. That would be better with." Yes, of course. And
I tap him at the back. Anyway, good shooting out there. Good shooting. That was good. I thought that was going to go a lot worse than it did. All right, there's one threat to humanity and dwarf kind solved. Let's get back with our party. I guess I'll look around the corpse and the campfire, but I'm not expecting to find anything. But I will have a gander around.
Yeah, you begin to look, and you find what appears to be shredded chainmail and leather armor that was, you literally think it was wrenched off of people's bodies. Upon closer inspection, once you're now in the actual campsite and you're looking at things in more detail, you realize that the reason that there are no whole bodies left, you find a bunch of little like basically chitlets and little chunky pieces of bone. And you realize that you think anything about this big or smaller, the ogre was just eating whole. He was eating people's bones and just chewing on them. And so you think that he probably did eat some people. You're not sure if they were dwarves or humans or whatever, but definitely. From the armor, you can tell. From the armor, you can tell that they weren't dwarves.
Okay.
He ate humans, it seems,
or human-sized,
something
I
human
guess.
sized.
Yeah, like half elves. Yeah. I'm going to, because just out of curiosity after discovering that, and I don't actually think you need to give me any information. I just like to make it known that Tarius will try to, because he's on the fire. But if it's safe to, Tarius will open the ogre's mouth and just have a gander at those teeth. I don't think you need to tell me anything about them. I just want to make it known that Tarius is going to do that.
Why is Tarius doing this?
It's just out of curiosity to see what kind of state they were in after all this eating. That's all.
Opening that up is probably a mistake because the smell will stay with you for the rest of your life. It smells like 10 rotting corpses, and it's just awful gingivitis, definitely some gum rot, and the teeth look like I don't know. I'm just picturing just like Shark Tale, the movie, but in a person's mouth.
Yeah.
You know, just that kind of color palette with like barnacles everywhere.
You're talking to a Shark Tale fan here, right?
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do. I say over to Ragni, do your people offer rewards for killing these threats? Is there anything we should take back as an identifier? A hand, a ear?
Ragni says, "Oh, that's a good question. I suppose my grandfather would most likely be very happy to hear that you've dispatched it. But you need not take anything. The word of a dwarf is worth more than an ogre's hand."
Well, witness what you saw here, Ragni. 3 great warriors taking down a smelly, stinky ogre.
Of course, I will tell my grandfather how you helped me kill it.
You did all the heavy lifting, I cannot deny. No, if that arrow had not come at that time, you would have been in quite some trouble.
Well, that's technicality. And he, Alessandro says nothing. He clearly knows he's superior. He's just silent.
When Tarius dies, he will inherit the bow.
He's like, finally. Been
All
waiting
right.
for this to die.
We will reunite with the party and continue onwards into Dwarven lands.
Nice. That's why Alessandro is like so loyal to you. He just wants to be put in your will. Get that fucking bow.
Right, I think so. I mean, I obviously I haven't written a will because I can't write. But, if Tarius' wishes are... Right now, I think Tarius would want Alessandro to have the bow. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I mean, in this period, I think most people probably wouldn't.
Alessandro wouldn't get the bow, though. I think my family would be very strict about that, unless he managed to get a hold of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't write a will, I feel like your family would probably claim it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like... although your family's not going to be at the site of the death. He probably will be, and he's going to have a lot of control over that situation.
Maybe me and Alessandro should get married, and then he can take the family name, and he can be a part of the family. There we go.
And then just take over, and he can aspire to your dream of conquering your own family and leading it into glory.
Yeah.
Yep.
But having to deal with the fact that he is an elf, and not indeed a Gladwin. But hey, we'll figure it out as we go.
We'll figure it out.
Nice.
But
that was fun. That was probably that thing could have definitely one-shot me, right? Like insta-killed me.
What's your HP?
7, so 14 damage. Can it do 14 damage?
Yeah, it can do. Its max damage is 20 with its great club.
And what's its max damage with its fists? Oh, you don't have to tell me. It's probably.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have come up if you took the great club away. I would have just come up with it on the fly.
I think it's 1 plus strength mod.
It is. I think I probably would have given it better than that, though, since it's an ogre.
Yeah.
I think I probably would have gone maybe with just taking a die away, so making it like a D8. It's 2D8 plus 4. I think I probably would have just made it a D8 plus 4 if it used its fist.
Fair.
But
and it was it an ogre?
What?
Was it an ogre?
Yeah, you killed an ogre.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's. Oh, by the way, the body now reeks. It's burning.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere near
you-
that bonfire. Well,
you
aside from
also,
Tarius inspecting it, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
You also, by the way, found a sack of random coinage that the ogre seemed to have collected from his victims.
Okay. Huh. Tarius is like, I don't know. Tarius is very much like, I should go to the company, but he feels very like, he has a lot of like adrenaline about that fight, and he also does feel like he just fought with his boys, like the fighters. Like, he respects a lot of the company, but out of everybody, if he wanted to fight like a really nasty battle, it's alongside Ragni and Alessandro. And also, Tarius is thinking we might get a reward for this, and that he would be happy to give to the company. So how much coinage is in this bag?
Before I tell you, I will say that it legally speaking, in terms of the company's sort of charter and rules, you know that requisitioning supplies in the field is allowed, especially if you view it's required. So if you were caught or whatever, you could always just say, hey, like, I needed this, blah, blah. You think you're well within your rights to take this. Mm-hmm. If it were a massive amount of money, people would probably argue against it and say that you were being corrupt. But anyway, in terms of how much money it is, you know what? Let's find out. Cool.
Also, while you're finding out, if you've got an easy answer for this question on hand, how many javelins were there?
2.
Cool. Thinking we might just leave these here. I'll check them on the bonfire. Are they wooden? Or are they metal?
They are wooden.
Yeah, just check them on the bonfire.
Okay. In the bag is 16 copper, 8 silver, and 10 gold pieces.
Go through that one more time for me. I've got a notepad open now.
16 copper, 8 silver, and 10 gold pieces.
Okay. That's really bad with 8. I'm actually always really bad at math these days. I used to be really good at math when I was in school, and I think these days I've just gotten too used to using a calculator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Evan, what kind of math are you having trouble doing?
Usually
right now?
is splitting D&D loot, to be fair.
Are you splitting it among... Who are you splitting it amongst?
The 3 boys.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Actually, that's fine.
Well, the 16 won't split evenly.
None of it will.
Neither will the 8.
No.
None of it will, actually, yeah.
So that's fine, though. It's pretty easy splits. It's just figuring out what the proportions I want to be. I will... Of course, you can roleplay if they don't accept this, but if they do accept it, then it'll end up being 6 copper, 4 gold, and 2 silver to Ragni. 5 copper, 3 silver, and 3 gold to the other 2. Ragni's doing it with a different share. So it's 5 copper, 3 silver, and 3 gold to us 2, and then 5 copper, 2 silver, 4 gold to Ragni. Ragni is getting more intentionally. Yeah, he's just getting slightly more.
Okay, I like it. Excellent. If you'd like, you can mark it somehow on their character sheet that they have that money.
It depends on whether it's going to come up, because obviously it's implied, right? They have wealth that's not marked, right? Because
yeah.
So like, I'm okay with not marking it, unless you think it's going to come up, because it's implied that
it wouldn't necessarily. Wealth. If it was a large amount, I think it probably would come up, but it's not a huge amount. So, but I will say that Ragni, they both will remember this. Ragni says, "Well, that does seem fitting. Besides, Kristen would have to clean this money off. It's covered in ogre shit." And
not to mention, what is a battle without the spoils? And boys, that was hell of a battle. Something to remember it by.
Seemed more like a butchering to me, but sure.
A butchering that had to be done. A butchering that could go in a tale. We could tell the story in the beer halls. killed an ogre to thrones.
You'll have to tell Aethelswith. But, I think it was a good battle.
Well,
and Alessandro says, I always respect your approach to engagements like this.
thank you, Alessandro. You are incredibly valuable to those that approach. You're a very useful. You're a very useful colleague.
I would be more useful if I had certain...
Of course.
Anyway.
No, so... Yes, we will get your bow cleaned when we get back. I remember our last agreement. You told me you were very upset with how dirty your bow is getting, so we'll get it cleaned when we get back.
Damn it.
Maybe I pull out my really dirty bow and just throw it everywhere. Maybe I should get mine cleaned. I don't use it enough to get it cleaned. And I put it in my bag.
What one tear forms in Alessandro's eye and it just drips down slowly. It goes by your notice, but the audience knows. The audience knows that Alessandro has one tear. So you take the money. You don't find anything else particularly interesting. I will say you find a little bit left over of what he was drinking, and
I was actually curious about that.
As Ragni opens it up, sniffs it for 1 second, closes it, and he says, "It's orcish grog."
Interesting.
It's foul stuff, but if you're looking to get drunk and get drunk quick, it does the trick.
Good to know. I imagine it takes quite a bit to get something like this drunk.
Yes, I'd imagine. But from the smell of him, I think he drank a lot. It's, I would be wary to drink it, though. It's rumored they sometimes brew it out of blood.
I was not eyeing it up for consumption directly, but thank you for the warning anyway.
Well, I considered it, but anyway.
Maybe on special occasions, a small shot glass or something, but you'd have to clean it first. Not from that container, no. Anyway, we should leave it here. Throw it on the fire.
Burn it! Okay.
It's
actually,
yeah.
He throws it on the fire. He throws the container on the fire, and you guys begin to walk away. And slowly, as you're walking away, unbeknownst to you, the leather in the container is burning through. And as you guys reach the end, just cinematic.
Before it happens, I lean over to Ragnar and go, "Remember, badasses do not look at explosions."
Ragnar says, "Damn right." And you guys begin to climb down. When you get down there, Sir Renault looks very upset, and Kristen looks bewildered by the explosion she just heard. She says, "What in God's earth was that?"
Come here, boy. Come here. Can I do a move command on my dog?
Sure.
Cool. I think it's DC 13 now. Hey.
It is DC 13. Hey.
Hey.
It's now DC 12.
Oh my. And as he comes over to me and I start petting him, I say, "Well, we discovered an ogre. Or we think was an ogre. And I took the threat very seriously, so I wanted to try to engage it as quietly as possible. That is why we had limited resources. I only engaged it with those I thought were available to be contacted by me without any chance of alerting the ogre, because surprise was very important. And luckily, we had that surprise. The ogre is dead. Happy days."
Kristen doesn't seem too bothered about why she wasn't called in, but you can tell that is why Sir Renault seemed a little upset. You know that he probably would have preferred to fight it. Now, earlier you said that Ragni and Alessandro are your boys. So, are you lying when you give those reasons? Is there any part of you that is?
Oh, okay. That's a good point. So that is actually what was going through Tarius' head at the time. But there's almost certainly a little bit of him that was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to fight beside these two." But Tarius is also a practicalist. So Tarius would fight the ogre with 100 men. If he was given the choice. Yeah, and he's the back of the 100 men. So like he would take Renault, but he didn't want to, but he wasn't that torn up about not being able to.
I think then you don't need to roll deception. I was just wondering if it was something more active in your mind.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then that's fine. I
think that's the way I describe it. Is like he would have taken Reynold if that was possible in his mind, but he's not that torn up about the fact that it wasn't. Like it doesn't bother him. Yeah.
Yeah. So Reynold says, "Well, it is what it is. I'm glad that you killed the beast. Perhaps you can tell me more when we set up camp tonight."
Of course, whatever you need to know. And trust me, you didn't want to smell that thing anyway. I looked inside its mouth.
Well, that was you. Why did you look inside its mouth?
Well, I saw all the bodies and I thought, wow, that man must have a good dentist. And he did not.
He must have a good dentist.
So, yes, no, it was it was a little rough. But yeah, maybe there are more ogres. Not to mention, you will have the pick of the litter when we fight the goblins.
Very well. Whoa, that was weird. But yeah, very well. He nods, and all of you begin to. Actually, I suppose Ragni says, "Speaking of which, we'll be dark soon. Where do you think we should make camp?"
We can't reach any outposts of your people by sundown.
That's a good question. Let me see here. Ragni begins to look around to try to remember where he is in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Well, now that I think about it, there's an old watchtower. I think it's near here. We could spend the night there. But it would probably push us probably about an hour past dusk. If you're okay with that, then that would be a decent place to sleep for the night."
I would make a slightly risky assumption that if a creature as foul as that was layering here, that there are many dangerous things that you might find in these mountains that do not currently live here because of it. I think we can travel an hour into dusk. But everyone have your wits about you. And those of you who have eyes stronger than us mere men, keep an eye out for the rest of us.
Alessandro and Ragni nod at this because they're superhumans who can see at the dark.
Yep.
And Mosh is like, "Okay, cool, I'll keep an eye out."
Because he's also a superhuman.
Yeah. I don't know. Do dogs see in the dark? I don't actually know.
I don't know.
Cats do. I don't know about dogs.
I don't know if dogs do IRL. Let's see what 5e says. 5e says they don't.
Well, there you go.
But 5e also, I think cats don't have dark vision, but tabaxi do, I think, in 5e.
What?
Yeah,
that's weird.
I think we've talked about this before. I think it's because
we've talked about this before.
Yeah, but it is. We've been doing this podcast for 6 weeks now. That's like a year for us. We're almost to the podcast.
That's true.
Yeah. By the way, do you remember when this was supposed
to be a year for us?
do you remember when this was was it Sunless Citadel campaign?
I do.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, session 6.
You're heading there.
Okay. I like it.
You'll only be level 13 when you get there.
Throw me a few more ogres and we'll think about it.
And the thing is, I'm not actually too worried about imbalance because you have such low HP that even a first to second level dungeon could kill you. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, and there's only so much caution you can do when you're a melee character.
Especially the way you approach things is very, like... The way you approach things is both very cunning on the one hand, but it's also very risky because all it takes is one bad roll and, like...
And that's why the amulet is so important to him, I guess, because if you can figure out that, like, if you can figure out how hard something is to hit, he knows he's got at least one in the tank.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Apparently, the cats are good. They have a keen smell. Anyway, you begin to push on. First an hour, and dusk begins to fall. And then you're going to push a second hour. I need everyone to make a DC 10 actually, it would be a DC 11 Constitution save.
Okay, Tarius.
Except the dog.
Okay.
I'm fine with the dog not making it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a fail from Tarius.
Of course, that's a fail from Darius.
He almost got it. That's a fail from Kristen.
Oh!
Gonna roll the mere folk first. That is a success from Sir Reynald. And then, why did I close character sheets? Why do I ever close character sheets? Ragniaf Grim, gotta make it. Does Ragni get advantage for his dwarven toughness? I'm assuming that's just no. Okay, he succeeds anyway. And then Alessandro. I mean, there is no doubt. There's no reason to. There is no reason to be worried.
Oh no! Poor Alessandro.
He cracks.
There was a reason to be worried. Okay, you, Alessandro, and Kristen are all very tired. In fact, Alessandro and Kristen both rolled nat ones. But yeah, all of you guys are become basically you gain one level of exhaustion as you begin to cross through the night. I think especially with your character, you're just not used to pushing it very far. I think you always are like, okay. I think in general you often set up camp before night even falls. So you're not used to pushing it this far. And it's not sitting well with you, but you think you could definitely do it. It's you're not going to die. You don't think you're going to die anytime soon, or anything like that. Although maybe you will die because you almost die all the time, but you'll probably be fine. You can see that Ragni is an old hat at this, and has walked this trail many times in his life. So Renault looks a bit. He looks confident and strapping. But Kristen and Alessandro, you can tell that they're also lagging behind with you. Eventually, you've been there?
Yeah.
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 Raggedy, you are there, man. What are you
Wow,
Raggedy,
I guess you're right, Marshall. I guess you're right. That's so profound.
Raggedy eventually gets to... shouts out to the back of you guys and says, "Oi! Tower is up ahead!" And you can see a dull light shining from a tower in the distance, and you can see that it's built out of. You can see that it's a tower built out of stone that sticks out of a rock face, and it has these stony steps which climb up to it.
Gee, how many steps?
Probably about 30 steps.
I look with the most puppy eyes that I can pull off as Tarius, the ugly fuck, towards Ragni.
You have to move while you're doing it, or else it'll disgust them.
Yeah, I slowly try to walk, I circle around Ragni,
Ragni's like, "What? What is it?"
That is a lot of steps, and I do think the ogre caught me in the leg when back there.
Are you asking me to carry you up the steps?
Will you already do it in battle?
Roll persuasion.
Okay. Is he from a feudal culture? He's not, is he? Because he's dwarven.
He both kind of is and kind of is not. I'm going to say no, though, because the dwarves respect clan more than they respect king.
Gotcha. All right. 14.
You just flash him the ring, and he's like, "I don't give a shit about that." And then
I flash him the bow. I flash him the insignia. I'm like, Ragni, please.
And he's like, "Stop flashing me shit. I know who you are." I'm not...
Oh yes, that goes through.
He looks at you and says, I suppose since it's only 30 steps, I can carry your lazy ass up the stairs. Get on my back. And he crawls down.
Thank you, Ragni.
Jump up, and he gives you a piggyback ride up the steps.
Oh,
Kristen and Alessandro look very sad that they have to walk up. And Sir Renault says, don't even think about it, as he walks before them.
Approved.
and the rest of them have to walk up on their own. Ragni gets to the very top step and puts you back down. And then he knocks on the door. And you... which is made out of a really sturdy oak, you think, and it's attached in some strange way to the rocky tower. And you see this.
Haven't seen any trees up in the mountains, right? Or have we?
You've back when you first started, you saw the occasional spruce tree, but it's thinned out significantly since then.
So they would have gotten this from some they probably would have transported this quite a while. This is probably some project. It would be. Yeah. I think I would I don't know if anybody would notice, but Tarius would be quite impressed by the effort put into this place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially you know that humans never build buildings in this way, right? You would, if you were going to build a tower, you would either build it out of logs or you would build it out of brick. But this tower has been literally carved out of solid rock. I mean, that would take humans decades and decades and decades, and even at the end of it, it would look awful. But this looks clean, it looks geometrical, it looks logical, and most importantly, it looks strong. This thing could take a catapult and stand, you know.
Which is important for a tower, I'm sure.
Yeah. Those flimsy human towers, they knock over all the time. The slot opens up. There's a sort of metal slot in the door, and you see on the other side. A dwarvish face, looks much younger than Ragni, and he says, "Aye, who's there?" Open it up, you boy. It's Ragni Afgrim, and I'm coming home. He says, "I ain't the password though." What is it again?
We just killed a bloody ogre and you can't let us in. It's dark out, okay? We got men out here, folk. We can't see out here in the dark. We're very tired and we're very hungry. We have coin, we have merriment, and we have killed an ogre. And this is Ragni Grim, for Pete's sake.
Well, luckily for you, bloody ogre is the password this month. And he opens the door.
Wait, hold on. Is that true? Oh, it's an 8, so I guess I don't know. Tarra still chuckles.
He opens the door and you see a young dwarf, which to you is strange because the only dwarf you've ever known is as old as a mountain.
I lean over to Alessandro and say, "They don't come with wrinkles."
He said, "I know, you should have seen me back in the day." And second old man who said that to you this day, by the way.
True. Their old men are really want to show me pictures of when they were young.
Yeah, they're like, "Here, look at my children."
Hey,
don't you think this little boy looks awesome? It gets real creepy. Anyway, but yeah, this he looks to you like a 17-year-old boy,
wow.
in terms of age.
Yeah.
Now, who knows how actually old he is, but he looks to you in terms of wrinkles and in terms of he looks very baby-faced. The only thing that makes him obviously a dwarf is his stature and the fact that for someone who's 17, he has a pretty healthy beard. It's not as big and as beautiful as Ragni's. It comes to about here, but and he says, "Well, it's good to welcome all of you. Ragni, it's been years since I've seen you." "Aye, when I last seen you, you were this small." And Ragni just holds his hand like an inch below the boy's head, so really not that much smaller.
Well,
and
you have grown.
And he says, "You have grown, thank you." And Ragni says, "Well, it's good to see Billy." And he says, "Everyone, this is Billy, my what are you, third cousin, twice removed?" "Something like that, Ragni, something like that." "Well, anyway, he's an outer member of the clan, but he's but he's grim, true and true, and it seems that he's been assigned to this tower. So, everyone, come in, come in. Is there a hearth on? And the boy says, "Aye, yeah, I was cooking a stew, but I suppose there's enough to feed all of you." Of course there is. A growing boy like you should eat 5 men's soup. But today you're only going to eat 1 share, because the rest of us have to eat 2.
You got anything for the dog?
Oh, the dog. Well, I've got rations I haven't cooked. Do you think he can eat raw meat?
I think so, right? I don't know much about dogs. I'm pretty sure they eat raw meat, right?
Yeah, he can. He can.
Cool.
A veterinarian might not love it, but he can.
There aren't that many of those in this barony. There's one ogre dentist, 0 veterinarians.
There's an ogre dentist and there's a horse doctor. And they take the horses and he goes, "Yep, its leg is broken," and then they shoot it. No.
And apparently in Castle Gormland there's the finest piss profit in the land, but we will not explore that any further.
Profit in the world. Yeah. Would you like to see the piss? Oh, I've also got a piss profit. Anyway, but he puts out a wooden bowl with what appears to be lamb or something cut up for the dog, and
that's nice.
Pours some bowls for all of you. The tower is this big, perfectly cubic room. So it's 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet, and it has these window holes carved out every so many feet that you can see out of, but also aren't big enough to make it so that you can't get hit by like arrows or something. And in the center of the room, there's also wooden slats that can come down and close the holes up if you want to.
Cool.
And in the center of the room, there is a oaken table that he's beginning to set with bowls and stuff, and you can see in the other corner there's one bed. So there is only one bed. You guys will have to sleep sort of on the floor and stuff. But, I guess but anyway. What were you gonna say?
I keep forgetting we don't have bedrolls. Next time we're in town, I need to buy some bedrolls.
Well, they have bedrolls, I assume, but you just don't. You just didn't buy one.
I'll just... Oh, jeez. Okay, so Tarius looks at the young boy and says, "My friend, I do not know if you know much about medicine, but I have a very rare condition. I'm afraid I'm going to need that bed. Or I will die." And then I looked at Alessandro to confirm.
I just love the delivery. Or I will die. Yeah, Alessandro looks at the boy and just goes, and the boy goes, "Well,
I pulled the wolf pelt from my back and say, "Here, to soften the floor for you."
He grabs it and Ragni says, "What are you waiting for, boy? You respect your elders." He says, "Well, I think I'm his age, actually." "Shut up, boy!" And he says, "All right."
Oh, you treat your kinsmen like you do the recruits. Good to see where you got it from, eh?
Oh, well, you can't. You give these youngins an inch and they'll take 10 miles with it.
Are the elders of Clan Grim as respected as the elders of our fine establishment?
I would say so. There's a bit of a hierarchy of sorts. My grandfather is the head of the clan. Has been for some time, since my great-grandfather died. Oh, that must have been 100 years ago. And then there's my father, who is sort of his right-hand man, if you will. And my older brother, who will one day run the clan. But seeing the state of these goblins, I have some words with him about security.
Oh yes, I look to the young dwarf and I say, Have you seen any goblins on this path? Over the last 3 weeks?
He says, "Oh, well, goblins, no, wait, let me see and roll. Let me roll and see if I know something."
I get out some dice for him. I give him some dice. Also, I know it's I know it's not what it seems, but it always makes me laugh when I look at a character sheet that has a land vehicles proficiency, and I see that I have a proficiency in land vehicles. I know it's not that memey, but it just makes me laugh. I just like to think of my D&D fighter in a Humvee, just driving through like the marshland.
Just
Give
fucking
me
trucking it.
shelter. Yeah, like just nodding as he drives through the desert.
You hear it in the distance slowly building up. Back in black.
You just drive as dragons are flying behind you, and you're just in this Humvee.
Nice. But he says, now that you say it, it must have been a week ago, maybe a week and a half. I think I did see something screwing around in the dark, but it was quite small. I assumed they were dogs or wolves. We occasionally get those on the path, and I try not to scuttle with them because, well, there's no reason to. But I suppose it's possible that they were goblins. It was they were quite far away. Outside of my dark vision, I mean.
I spoke with a traveller not long ago that said that the goblins, they occasionally fight alongside wolves. In fact, some goblins are even able to ride them as mounts. Maybe you did see wolves. Maybe there were goblins involved. Wargs.
Perhaps. Wargs. I think I've heard old tales of them. Yes, no, that seems possible. Well, I'm very sorry if it was goblins. That seems... perhaps I should send out the alarm. Do you think they're still in the pass?
Tarius looks surprised at this. And then he turns to Ragni and says, would news of the young goblins incident not have travelled to your clan?
He says, not necessarily. Visits to the clan are infrequent. Unless someone went out of their way to inform us, word might not get here for a month or so. Our clan's relationship with the barony is simple. We dig up rocks, and we give them some of them. As long as we give them some rocks, they usually don't pry into our business too much, and my grandfather has never seen fit to pry too much into the business of human folk.
Yes, I suppose a change in management isn't that likely to upheal that relationship. That makes sense.
Well, also, it's a change in relationship in a different barony. They're beholden not to Moordrake. So
they
it
don't
wouldn't
trade
even...
with Moordrake at all?
Not to Moorland. No,
Moorland.
they are in the barony of White Peak, the one you heard about that White Vale is in, and they have an arrangement with the Baron of White Peak. The only arrangement they have with Moorland is that they send members of their clan to fight with the Fist in Moordrake, and in return, the Fist buys weapons from them. So they have no formal relationship with the Gormlands. Sorry if there was some confusion there.
It's not something I would have acted upon, so don't worry about that. It's interesting though. It changes, not anything that Tarius would have done or said, but changes how Putty's thinking about some stuff. Because I think Putty wants to change that.
Change what?
I don't know. Actually, that's a pretty good relationship. That's all he would want that's all Tarius would want is the fist. But then he does like the dwarves. He thinks interconnection is good. I don't know.
You would prefer Clan Grimm to be beholden to the Fist?
I don't like the word beholden. Wait, what does it even mean? I guess I have connotations of that.
Well, in this case, it means that in some sense, Clan Grimm they're kind of like a semi-independent vassal of the barony, right? Mm. So like they technically aren't fully independent, but they have a little more autonomy than, say, a regular mayor or city or town would. And that's kind of what he meant. He kind of meant, yeah, technically my clan works for the Baron, but as long as we keep sending him stuff we pull out of the ground, they don't really... And by rocks, he means iron.
Yeah. Because
that's actually what they send them. But as long as we keep sending them iron, they don't really care. right? That's our whole arrangement. And so,
Do I
obviously,
know? Would I know what they use the iron for?
the Baron of White Peak.
Yeah.
You could ask Ragni. I don't think that's something you would know.
Okay.
You could try to roll history. It'd be a hard check, though.
I mean, there's no reason not to, right? I like rolling dice. I'm going to
There you
assume
go.
that's a
Yeah,
fail.
no.
So, yeah.
That's a fail. No, you don't know what they use it for. You could assume. I mean, iron is often used for weapons, armor. It's used for nails. Used for tools, or shoes.
I assume that my short swords are made by Clan Grim.
They are, yeah, because of the arrangement, yeah.
So I would probably be quite fond of Clan Grim's weapon work.
You probably would. If you've encountered weapon work from other people and thought it was not as good.
I think Tarius is the kind of guy that even if he hadn't, he'd be like, these are the best swords in the world. Well, have you had any other swords? These are the best swords in the world.
I like it.
Yeah. They keep away tigers. Do you see any tigers?
Do you see any tigers?
It's one of the older putty jokes. This rock keeps away bears. Do you see any bears? What was the last in-game sentence? We were talking about if word would have gotten to the clan, and the answer was probably not.
Yeah, so he's basically, and by the way, Beely is basically implying he has a way to warn other towers and Clan Grim that there's something going on in the pass. And he's asking, well, do you think the goblins are still in the pass? Because if there are, maybe I should send a warning to the other towers.
I say, we have it on decent authority, I believe, that they have been spotted deeper into the White Peak barony. I think they are gone, or at least the goblins were after, I suppose. Although I am told goblins are quite rare, we are getting a few different independent sightings of them.
Yes, I don't remember ever hearing about goblins except, well, occasional stories of goblins to the east, never to the west, though.
Yes, well, the goblins we're looking for apparently came from the east to the west. So perhaps
that sounds about right, then.
Yeah, tell us more about these eastern goblins.
Well, I've just heard about goblin attacks in various towns. It's one of the things in Whitevale, one of the problems they have to deal with is occasional goblin attacks. Well, as if the barony doesn't have enough problems as it is. But I think that... Yes, I think that... I'm not exactly sure who they're affiliated with or where their... I suppose the word would be goblin hold or perhaps campsite is, but... I would imagine somewhere in the hills around Whitevale. I doubt they live in the mountains. I think we'd know about them if they were in one of the caves or passes in the mountains. Well, at least this part of the mountains. I suppose they could be much farther north and we wouldn't know about them. But it's very inhospitable up there.
Well, Billy, if you ask me, I don't think you should worry yourself too much about an imminent goblin threat. You let us handle that. We're heading to Whitevale now. But what I would do, when it's lighter outside, with whatever resources you have in this little place here, is I would look into whether or not you can figure out if goblins already did come through this pass. Because that, I think, would be a cause for concern. Maybe there are some roots, some weaknesses that you should shore up a little bit. I don't know. But my friend here, not over to Ragni, seems to think that goblins coming through here were impossible. And so far, we've had no evidence that they did. But if they did, it sounds like that is something you should probably look into fixing.
I suppose that is... Yes. Yes, when daylight breaks, I will climb down from my nest here and make an investigation. Perhaps there could be scraps of clothing or... well, I hear goblins often carry on copper pieces. Perhaps
tufts of fur, if they really were wargs, they might have dropped tufts of fur.
Could be. Or, well, it is too bad it's not the wet season, otherwise there would be muddy tracks. but theoretically, if they were clumsy enough, especially wargs, I heard they're big, clumsy enough, they could have displaced some of the gravel on the path. That would not be too hard to see, I don't think.
Well, I will rest easier, and I'm sure Ragni will, knowing at the very least that someone is looking into it. Now, it is very, very late, and I am very, very fed. So I, my friends, with great joy, am heading to bed. And I'll stand up and I'll lift whatever I was drinking and say, "To the death of a foul ogre, and the brave men who slayed it."
Aye, aye! And everyone else says aye, aye. You can hear Sir Renault says it kind of quietly. And yeah, the rest of them enjoy a little more drink and talking before they go to bed. But you're such a heavy sleeper, it doesn't bother you at all. You probably just immediately zonk out.
Yeah, I throw the bow almost into the fire, but I'm like, oh shit, and I put my foot on it, and I'm like, it's okay.
Alessandro sees that. He's just like, come on, man.
Sorry. I'll put the blades down. Like, very carefully and gently, I'll put the blades down. I'll go to bed. Fine, grim craftsmanship, I'll say, as I put it next to the bow.
Yeah, actually, when you say that, he says, oh, yes, very nice. Looks, yes, it's stamped with our seal. My father is a blacksmith at Clan Grin.
Well, I do appreciate the work of your people much more than I appreciate the work of whoever crafted this thing. Point at the bow. Too much ceremony, you know. The dwarves they forge with function. These blades they kill. This is a status symbol. It is not a weapon.
You just hear Alessandro speaking under his breath. It is perfectly crafted. It is elegant. He says,
there's a big fucking snake on it.
Right as you're crawling into bed, he says, it is a masterpiece. Oh, God. This is fucking memey as shit. You're just like,
great, though. I love it. I really like it.
I love the conflict, the soft conflict between you and Alessandro over whether you should take care of the bow. My favorite thing is I barely even use it.
I have fired 2 arrows in this campaign.
Yep. So you go to bed, and you see as the you don't see shit because you zonk out, but you hear a little bit of talking just before you go to bed, and I think we're going to end our session here with you falling asleep in one of the watchtowers along the spine path on the way to Clan Grim. Okay, that was this session. Wow, this is a really fun session. I enjoyed the just the banter. This session was fucking hilarious.
I'm starting to really enjoy the party. I think,
yeah,
for sure. I think it's a cool dynamic. Even the new Sir Renault, you know, it's like Tristan's voice. I've gotten used to it. He's just a new character now, and that's okay.
It is like Tristan's voice. Who are you?
I know. I really like the party, and I'm liking the world building. Like, especially like going into the mountains with the dwarves. That was a very different feel. This is very much the feel I was hoping to get when we started these types of campaigns. I feel like I'm just chilling, having some fun D&D encounters while exploring your world, and I'm having a blast.
Nice. Yeah, and you got to really just stick it to that ogre.
Yeah. Yep.
I thought that was really clever because if you had done it any other way, the ogre probably would have fucked someone up. That ogre can really whack.
I've been running a lot of ogres for another group who are a lot more competent. I'll have a lot more hit points. Let's just say that. And they're quite nice. They're at the point now where where ogres are running away from them, but they used to be a threat.
Running away from them.
Yeah, it's become a meme now because one of the first ogres they killed was picking flowers, And so I know now that ogres they're not going to be a threat. So every time they come across an ogre now, it's just very peacefully picking flowers, and then it just runs away from them. I'm going to pay that off. We're going to pay that off soon with a alchemist in the town they're staying at, saying, I used to have an ogre friend who used to pick flowers for me, but he hasn't seen me in a while. Can you pick some flowers for me?
Oh my god, that's funny. That's good. Yeah, I was just trying to think of before the session, I was just trying to think what would be a good monster to find in the hills that is not completely outrageous for your level.
Yeah, like a hill giant. If that was a troll, we'd be dead.
You definitely
yeah, trolls are crazy.
No, yeah, for sure.
Although there was a fire right there, so maybe we could have done something clever. But if we tried to fight it straight up, we'd be dead.
Well, especially without Kristen, because Kristen can light it on fire. But I don't know. Yeah, but I guess the only good thing if it was a troll is you now know Ragni has fought trolls.
Ooh.
So he would have at least known some stuff about it.
If he was a Blood Bowl player, would he be a troll slayer?
Probably. I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. I feel like he might be He's definitely not a blitzer or a runner. I feel like he might be a Longbeard or a troll slayer. It's hard to say.
Gotcha.
But I think that I think that this kid looks like a runner. He's a dwarvish runner.
Yeah?
He looks lanky.
He's got potential.
Quick, agile.
Could he get...
Oh no! Wait, broken back. It's over. It's over.
But what about the Agi up? We could do the Agi up. Of the legendary Friend Makers team of the early 90s.
Oh, that's funny. The early 90s.
I'm imagining our Blood Bowl seasons were like decades apart in canon.
Yeah, there were years and years of regular Blood Bowl games, and then every 10 years there would be a great bowl.
The Great East Side Invitational, yeah.
The Great East Side Invitational, as opposed to the West Side Invitational, which was terrible.
Okay, I like the West Side Invitational. It's the amateur league. It's it's where the stars were born.
Okay. That's really funny. Okay, so in terms of XP for today...
Yeah, so I turned in some letters and stuff. I'm not sure if that ended up being a quest, but that was fun. And then we chatted in town. I don't think we did anything else in town. Then we left, killed an ogre, got to the watchtower. Oh, also, do I long rest and do I rest off my exhaustion?
You do long rest and you do rest off your exhaustion.
Cool.
Because you only had one level.
Yeah. So... Yeah, we killed an ogre for Clan Grim.
But Alessandro forgets to wake you up, so you die in your sleep.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll roll up something. Actually, if I'm dead, that means you're playing next session. In my Neverwinter combat. I think that's all I did, yeah. I mean, the ogre took up a lot of the session, did a lot of reconnaissance and scouting. I'm not sure if you want to give XP outside of the combat encounter, but that was most of the back half of that session. And obviously traveling at night and stealthing around. Yeah, I think the main things were turning in the letter and killing the ogre.
Yeah, and I think in general, you got it. You did good. Okay, you did great.
I did it.
You did it. No.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I'm gonna say that you get 325 XP.
325. Amazing. Cool. Awesome.
Excellent.
I think we're well on track to level up at the end of Sunless Citadel.
Yeah. Oh, I think you might.
I think
at the
I don't like the sound of that. Tarius is going to be a killer at level 5. This man is going to like he's killed his first creature in their sleep. Tarius has got the he knows now. he needs to do that some more.
Yeah. I think that you should reach Clan Grim next episode. Do you think Tarius is going to spend long there, or do you think he's probably going to move quite quickly on?
Tarius is a very get shit done kind of guy, while still wanting to get, like, if something pops up that's worth doing, he wants to go and do it. but if you leave something undone for too long, it does start to bother him. So he's starting to get a little bit restless about not searching for the kid. He would like to.
Well, you are actively pursuing it right now. I mean, you are.
That's true. Yeah, but the reason why he's getting a bit restless is because he's not sure how much value the manor detour actually gave him in terms of this quest. It gave him a lot of value for other things, he thinks, but not sure about this quest. So he'd like to go to Clan Grim, talk about the ogre, talk about the goblins, make sure they know. Either they know that the goblins did come through, or that they don't. Or that they know that they didn't. You know what I mean? Like, just say to them, like, we think goblins might have come through. We're not saying they did. You should probably look into it. We'd be curious if you have an answer.
Yeah. I also found it interesting, like, you had the realization today, or you kind of learned that it's very unlikely that Clan Grim even knows what's happened yet.
Yeah.
Because there's just not a lot of mechanisms for them to discover it. Someone passes through occasionally, but, like, for the most part, not a lot of people go through this pass, because it's up high and it's a bitch to climb and it's slow and occasionally ogres kill you. I'm
right in saying there is a king of Hallstatt, right? Yeah. Where's the?
There is. Yeah.
Where is? Which city is it? Goliath is the capital.
No. The king's castle is Castle Croft. It's south of Potfork.
If the king died, someone would be sent to notify everybody, right? Like Castle Grim would know somehow, or is it the same kind of situation? Yeah.
No, they would probably find out. I mean, they will eventually find out about the barony, but it's not as if when the Baron got lost, they sent out letters to everyone, right?
Yeah.
They probably notified their superiors, but as we discussed, Clan Grim is in a kind of different supply chain. It's in a different hierarchy.
Yeah.
But I think that
it's kind of the same with the king, though. But would they?
If the king died, there would probably be couriers sent to every town in the island.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be. That would be a heraldic sort of. Everyone would be let know of this immediately.
Yeah.
That word would spread pretty pretty much as quick as horses could travel. And you also know that. Wait, never mind. No, that's not. Never mind. I was about to say something that was wrong. But
something about sending spells, maybe? Something about sending spells, maybe you were about to say?
No, okay. Something culturally that I realized isn't true. But anyway, so I'm excited to see what kind of funky stuff goes on at Clan Grim. You're also, I think it was interesting, you were because Ragni's really old, but you were told he has a father and a grandfather still alive.
Yeah, I do. And I also I think I noticed, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but as Ragni got further and further down the line of succession, he got a bit quieter. He was like, oh, I don't like thinking about that far down the line of succession. And I think it sounds like he is, he talked about his older brother, and it sounded like he's not looking forward to the day where his older brother is the leader of the clan. I think it'll probably make him feel really old, if he's still around.
If he's still around, yeah. And his older brother's apparently even older than he is. I just imagine dwarves at a certain point just look like just bags of dust. They're just like. I like my favorite thing about dwarves is they have this. Elves are kind of timeless in this way where it's almost like you don't even think about their parentages or their grandparentages. Yeah. They're almost like these whimsical, timeless beings. I like dwarves because they're really old, but they also have this family connection. So it makes it really interesting when you have like, oh yeah, my great grandfather died. What was that? 100 years ago, and everyone's like, "What?" And my grandfather, he'll probably die in the next 2 decades or something like that. Whatever. I think that's it's a very different world than we're used to, but you get to play around with that in interesting ways.
I think one thing with the podcast that we've started this week as a new dynamic is because of the new place and the way the lighting is working. It's very obvious that we're in different time zones now. Whereas because of the lighting I used to have, I pretty much looked the same throughout the show. But now, as the show goes on, you can tell it's nighttime. Whereas you still got, I think that's a window, and you can still tell it's light outside for you. So
there's no light on in this room. It's natural lighting.
That's really nice natural lighting, actually.
It is. We got some great windows here. Yeah. The sun. Well, it helps that the sun is right outside this window. So It's shining in.
I was having some overexposure issues. Maybe it's a camera thing. I'm not very camera savvy. I might have to.
Well, yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, the problem is, I believe that generally when you want to light a room, you don't want the light going directly into the camera. You want it bouncing off a wall. Where in this case, I think the light is hitting directly to the camera.
Yeah, definitely. It's right there. Yeah.
So that's something to consider. But I'm sure you'll figure it out. I mean, the curtains.
This was fine. I'm not.
It's an interesting curtain setup. It's like
there's a curtain for each window. There's 3 of them there.
Yeah. Now, is it like are the windows connected or?
Kind of. There's a little bit of a bevel, but it's not.
Okay. Cool. Well, anyway, yeah. So we are going to see what happens with your party. See if you get slaughtered. Maybe Clan Grim is just a goddamn graveyard. You get there and it's just nothing but wargs and bodies. That would be terrible. That would be really bad. I just made that up on the spot. I just thought that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty cool. Anyway. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Fuck it, let's do it.
Let's fucking do it.
Agni's like, what? No, let's not do it. What?
Ragni, you have no authority here.
Ragni cries, helpless as his family is killed. But yeah, no, that is that's this session over. Oh, and with the uncle, it seemed like he was a little bit upset with the news.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I wanted to talk to him about the doctor, but I thought that I thought that I would leave that
for another day,
for when I'm ready to pursue it. Yeah, when I'm investigating it, because Tarra has plans too. But
so, in other words, when you head back and you're planning on heading to the manor again, on the way, you're going to tell him about it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he's going to go back to the manor first. I think he's going to go to Tiefdale. Tiefdale? No, Fifedale. Fifedale.
Fifedale.
Tiefdale, the home of Tiefling.
Tiefdale is their neighbor down the street that has nothing but tieflings.
And yeah, because apparently I think the doctor was from there or something. I don't remember exactly, but there's something.
Yep, it said he was the doctor from Fifedale. Yeah, Fifedale.
Oh, we're also gonna have to set up the brewery at some point, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, you got to set up the brewery. Got to get that going.
Tarius' plans after this quest is completed is to slowly work on that while he instructs the not the gauntlet. That's a different organization.
The gauntlet,
the fists, to look into getting a pearl and a detect magic or an identify scroll for Kristen, and then also because he thinks it'll make the guild a lot of money if they can do that. They can set up that infrastructure. And also, he's going to look for some leads on the Amulet of Hell.
Nice.
After all this is over. Although he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. He didn't even take an attack this session.
If you never get hit, you never need health. If you always roll 6s, you don't need Agia.
You probably didn't even think about this. But if Tarius didn't disengage, he probably would have killed the Yoga. But let's say Tarius didn't disengage and the Yoga was still alive. Who would he have attacked out of curiosity?
I probably would have just made a distinction based on damage. Who did the most damage?
Yeah, who did? It probably was me, I think.
Probably.
Because I had so many attacks.
You attacked so many times. It probably would have been you. Because not only did you do more damage, but you attacked more, and I think it would have made him feel like you were more of a threat.
That was probably the first thing he saw when he woke up.
Yeah. You woke him up, yeah. So, yeah, I think he probably would have attacked. Plus, I think... there is this kind of probably... Ogres are not proud creatures. There's probably this path of least resistance thing. If he sees the dwarf in heavy, it just... this guy looks like a tank. Then he turns to you, a withered... He's probably
I've got some moves. I'm only 1 AC lower than Ragni.
That's fair. No, I just mean when you stand still, you look like a corpse.
I'm never standing still in battle. I'm on my toes. I got my flailing. I'm ready to
that could be a strategy. If you stand still and if you're ever fighting undead and you stand still, they might just think you're one of them.
Will you give me a frightful visage ability if I stand still? Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. That was a fun session.
Well, you need to wrap us up and title the session because those are your jobs. Fine. You're not allowed to leave. I also want to eat, so do it quick.
Okay. The title of the session is Mountain Dentistry.